Welcome to a new Waterwave TV interview. As you can tell by the title, we got Brandon Pulphus in the building. You will see him shortly on the camera. I know you can't see him yet, but I know you will see him in a second. But first, as you know, we got to run the intro. Let's get it.
And while you at it peeping this shit, go ahead to youtube.com/Waterwave TV and subscribe to that shit. Yeah, you know the waves in it. Baseball, we're hitting a home run, hit it with the coldest rains. And even on my bad days, I'm a clutch to finish. The track diminish, the booth burnt hands as it.
What is up, Waterwave family? It is your boy Vino in the building, and we are here today with my co-host Ricky WWTV of the day, and also we have a special guest with us today. We have Brandon Pulphus in the building. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little not as dry as I was when I got in my car, but I'm all right. I made it through.
I feel you.
Right? Yeah.
I feel you. A lot of you may not know, but Brandon is one of the owners of the SotaSound Music Festival, correct?
Correct.
And he was one of the guys who helped put on the event, and kind of should know all the behind the scenes, all the things that we need to know.
Absolutely.
to know what was really going on at the heart of SotaSound. But that being said, I guess we can dive right into it, right?
Yeah, might as well, I guess.
All right. Basically, I guess, Brandon, I really want to know a little bit more about you. Could you tell us like a bit about yourself, where you're from? I guess like where you went to high school.
Yeah.
How did you kind of start getting into promoting music festivals?
Sure. So, again, I'm Brandon Pulphus, of course. Nice to meet y'all. Nice to see y'all. I am a local artist based out here in the Twin Cities. Been doing music for a while here, going on 19, 20 years. I'm from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Went to high school in Eagan, Minnesota. College in Mankato, Minnesota, and
Shout out
after
Cato.
that, shout out Cato, shout out Giller,
Shout out.
shout out Cato, shout out everybody. But anyways, as far as how I got into the whole throwing festivals thing, that was never a goal of mine, and honestly, never a goal of Tony's or John's either. The way that it happened, the way we got into it was a friend of mine. He throws a festival every year called Glad to Get Down, and he's been working with different venue owners across the state. And one of them happened to want to tap into a different market. This time it was hip hop. So they asked our friend, said, hey, do you know anybody who's tapped into the scene, who's tapped into the city, can bring about some hip hop acts and do something that we haven't really had out at our campsite before? So that's how we got involved in the whole festival throwing. River's Edge tapped in with us and basically asked if we wanted to throw a festival in 4 months' time because they had an open window available.
Cool.
Yeah.
So a little bit more background on the other owners. So is it you, Tony, John, and Jory?
So Tony, he's our basically equivalent to our CEO. He started the SotaSound company. He's in charge of all the logistics, all the building the structure of the festival, some of the booking. But that one mostly for this year fell under Jory's lap. So he hired her on to help with the administrative work, with some of the booking and some of the drawing up of the contracts.
Okay.
John, who is a comedian out here, has got a pretty nice sized name for himself, and he is a good friend of Tony's. They go back from, I think, actually they met in Mankato as well, which is where I met John, but not Tony back then. So that is a little bit of background on those three. Did you, I feel like I kind of just threw a general...
Yeah. I guess dive a little deeper into. I just want to know a little bit more about the other owners, since we know about you now. Like, I guess if do you know where Jory Callista grew up? Do you know about her, like where she went to college? Maybe have you done business with her before?
So I met her back in Mankato, and I didn't even. It's a funny story. So I worked with her at a noodles company in Mankato like 8 or 9 years ago, and I didn't even realize it was the same person 8-9 years later when Tony sat us down for a meeting, because I had no idea at all. But didn't really know Jory that well. The reason why we ended up bringing her on was that was a call by Tony. He knew her very well. They've got a super extensive history, and from what he knew and from what we saw, she's a very hard worker and someone who would be a pretty big asset to the team. So he brought her on, but that wasn't I guess it wasn't a decision made by anything I knew about her.
Okay.
But kind of off of his cosign.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then what about Tony, I guess? Like, Who is he to you? Do you know about his background, where he's from, apart from like the whole Mankato thing? How much do you know about him?
So Tony, he's from Houston. Or actually, I think he might be from Fort Worth, but he's from Texas. He moved out to Minnesota just to get a different scene around him. He's got a bunch of different hustles, but he recently started working with musicians and in entertainment through, which I believe you all have mentioned Mac House before, but he used to work with Mac House. No longer are they on the same team, but he used to work with them, and that's how we got kind of involved in the music scene. So
Okay.
he worked with them a bit. I met him through one of the Mac House showcases that John also had happened to be hosting for them. So
Okay.
that's how we kind of all came together.
Yeah. So John was hosting events at Mac House. Tony was putting on some events at Mac House, it seems like, right?
I don't know if John was throwing them. I think he was just hosting them. Then as far as Tony goes, he was more, to my understanding, I mean, I'm not in Mac House, so I don't know how they did it, but to my understanding, he was kind of just like I guess, helping out with logistics, cleaning up what they already had going on.
Yeah.
So essentially it sounds like management work, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to speak on it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you just said you don't want to speak on it, but do you know any reason why he could have split from Mac House?
From what I understand, it was just, I guess, creative differences, which I know they have like a president at Mac House, they've got a vice president, then if Tony was their manager, and then if someone else the CEO, I don't know. It sounded like there was just a lot of different stuff going on. But
what was Tony doing in between working with Mac House?
As far as just
like when
general,
he stopped working with Mac House, what was he doing in general?
So he invests in real estate. He does some consultancies on various businesses, none of which I'm privy to, but this is just what he's told me. He does actually the first main sources of income. That's all he's mentioned to me. So just a lot of consultancy work and some management.
But nothing like within music,
like festival-wise, or
just anything in the music scene.
As far as with the music scene, it would have been anything with Mac House. Right. Before that, no.
So then once that was over, it's kind of split until the SotaSound thing sprung up.
So, I mean, he might manage some artists. I'm not 100% sure if he does, but I know with Mac House, he was running with them for a few years, and that's where he got his leg in. And, so
for sure. And I guess lastly, like John X, where did he come from? Where was his whole startup position standing?
Just SotaSound specifically?
Just in life. Like, how did y'all meet? How did all that kind of go down? Do you know much about him?
I do. John's my guy. Yeah. Tony's my guy too, but me and John met back in Cato, so we go back a little further. I've known Tony for like 5 or 6 years, but me and John about 10 or 11 years. Okay. I met him through freestyling because he also does that. He's surprisingly, for a comedian anyways, he's a very good rapper. So he did a lot of freestyling back in Mankato. I only rapped back in Mankato for the most part, and we met through a battle league. And he was on one side of the bracket, I was on the other side of the bracket, and we ended up going at each other in the finals. Pause. Or somebody said that earlier. I thought that might have been a wave. But yeah, that's how I met John. It didn't end well for him, but that's how we met.
Okay.
That's how we met.
For sure. So we kind of got in exactly why you guys started it then and how you guys all met one another. I just kind of wanted to know then why was the name SotaSound? Who started that name? Who brought it up? And who was like, all right, was it just all four of y'all decided like, yeah, that's the perfect one, let's do it?
So we went with SotaSound because, I mean, it kind of just, I don't remember if it was John or if it was Tony, but we were all three of us were in the same room. We were just throwing out ideas. What can we call this festival that's going to catch some people's attention? So we called it SotaSound. Yeah. And after hearing all the comments about everybody's things, well, why is it called Soda? Can I cuss on this or no?
Yeah.
So like, why the fuck is it called SotaSound? It's not even in Minnesota. It's like, okay, this first one wasn't in Minnesota. The reason why it was titled SotaSound was because we wanted to give, opportunities and stage time to artists based in the Twin Cities, based in Minnesota. So that's where that came in. But as far as the actual name creation goes, I'm gonna give that one credit to Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently it's a pretty popular name because I think we got into like maybe month 4 or 5 of dealing with everything in SotaSound. Okay. And somebody reached out to us and said, hey, SotaSound is actually our name. You stole it. Give us credit. And We was like, well, that can't be true because we made sure to look it up before we did it, before we got our LLC, before we got our business rights. And I mean, SotaSound is like, that's probably like one of the first names someone's going to come up with at throwing a festival. So wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on toes.
Okay.
All that to say, turns out they didn't actually own it. So here we are.
Oh, okay.
Like they did something first but didn't own it.
Yeah, like they came, I'm sure they sat there and was like, oh, you know what sounds dope? SotaSound. I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds dope. Maybe you should get an LLC for it. Maybe you should get a trademark. They didn't do that. And we didn't have that conversation, obviously, with this person. We didn't know they existed until they said we stole their name. So here we sit.
Wow.
Innocent.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess we know why it was in Wisconsin, right? Because River's Edge was the one that reached out to you guys, correct?
Exactly.
And like if you guys did have like if you guys like had a different lineup or maybe bread to choose where you guys wanted to go, would you put it in Wisconsin or would you maybe?
I don't think anybody who lives in Wisconsin would put it in Wisconsin.
Okay.
A great state. They got cheese curds, wine, all that nonsense. Yep. But like to be real, obviously we would have done it. Maybe not obviously, but for the record, we would have rather done it in Minnesota.
Minnesota, okay.
With the time constraints, I mean, really, we wouldn't have done anything with that short of notice on that large of a scale if it wasn't like the perfect storm. Everything just happened to line up that way where they say, oh, we've got this date. We want you guys to come do this. We've got these facilities and that facility, and we want you guys to help us bring in a crowd.
Yeah, let's go into that. When did River's Edge hit you guys up?
So it would have been, the actual date's gonna be fuzzy, but it was definitely in March. Because I know when we agreed on doing this festival, we had a 4-month, maybe like 4.5-month heads up to do it. So it wasn't long, but let's just say March.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you guys just immediately got to creating the LLC and or like how did that, like that was just like who called who? Did Tony just call y'all three up and just be like, yo, River's Edge just hit me up, we finna start this festival, like let's create an LLC, let's go?
Gotcha. So Tony came up with the concept of throwing a festival because obviously, as you two are well aware of, Soundset's no longer throwing events anymore. So that said, Tony was like, oh, there's a really great opportunity for Minnesota to throw a festival, and there's kind of a, what's the word, kind of like a vacuum of power right now. No one's doing it. So Tony asked me if I knew anybody who knew how we could throw a festival, how we could get this going. So I tapped into some of my resources, and one of my friends, he said that not only does he throw festivals, but he said he's worked with these guys at River's Edge. He said from what he knows, they're pretty good, competent people, and they're looking for something that's just like this. So opportunity arose.
Okay.
As far as John goes, him and Tony, I believe, still work together on his comedy. So as far as Tony managing John, so they were already in close quarters and such, and then I go back with both of them. So it was just kind of like a thing where, as a local artist especially, I'm kind of like, yo, this would be real dope if we could do something like this and put a bunch of cats on. But obviously, you know, things went a little left, and that's why I wanted to come here today to clear up. There's just I want to say this first. I don't know for a fact, but gun to my head, I don't think this was like a bash campaign or anything like that. I think that there were a lot of things that spun out of control, a lot of things that me, Tony, John have all taken accountability for, and I'm just here today to kind of clear up a lot of the things that I saw in the documentary, because I know how it looks, and that's kind of why, and that's why I can empathize with it. I get it. So
no,
I kind of want to straighten a lot
for
of that out.
For sure. We're definitely going to get into that. And I feel like too, we're asking a lot of our questions to make sure that whatever wasn't said or whatever wasn't answered or whatever we had the I don't knows to is figured out here. So like, we definitely want to give you like the chance to kind of clear your name, so to speak, but also kind of give the chance for you to explain exactly what was happening from what we were seeing, from what every second of that of each moment from when we were leading up to getting to the event. That's what we just talked about. Right. So I just asked you everything that I just asked you because of what we just led up to. So any information inside the documentary that had to do with the owners, you just went and explained further into that. So if anyone really had any more questions, we're just going based off of a lot of the questions that we were asked and people wanted to know more about. So like, we're giving room here for you to answer, but I'm also going to give you room at the end here to ask and really figure out and clear exactly the spots that are like, yo, this is wrong, this is not it, this isn't it, because we also have a lot of questions to ask too. I mean, I think from the video you could kind of tell that there was a lot of things that we didn't get to ask, but we were blocked. So like that's one thing too, that it's kind of like,
You were blocked?
yes, we were blocked by Tony on both Waterwave and my end, and we were blocked by the SotaSound page. At first I thought you guys deleted the page, but yeah, no, we were blocked. So there was no ability to really reach out to y'all and have this like real dialogue. So here is the chance that we're gonna get today to do it.
I did not know that was the case. To my understanding, I mean, all the communication lines were open. We all put our statuses up after the day of the event, and we wanted to open up a dialogue in case something like this or some conversation needed to happen. I also don't see them blocking you. Why would they? I don't understand. That doesn't. Are you currently like?
I think we currently are.
I bet you're blocked.
Yeah. So now. I don't know which one of you guys have the SotaSound in your bio, the @ but like, yeah, if we're on Waterwave, if I'm on Waterwave, or if I'm on my own account, I can't click it. So it's like that's the number one sign of you've been blocked. And I know exactly the day that I got blocked, because it was the day that I was like, yo, we might have to do a Surviving SotaSound documentary because this event was crazy. And so like
then the block happened.
Well,
that makes sense, right? I mean, it's like if you go somewhere saying publicly, like, oh, we might have to do a Surviving SotaSound documentary. I mean, I get it. I mean, I can see why they blocked you for that. But also, I would say, if I'm sitting in your shoes and I got blocked before I had a conversation, I guess I could see where that, like, how that could snowball into this.
Yeah,
I
mean, if anyone's saying anything about any of our events that we put on, we would DM that person. We have no reason really to block people. We don't really even block anyone. I don't really think on Waterwave. I don't think we've ever blocked anybody. We've been a business for the last 5, almost 6 years here. It's not that hard to have a conversation out here. I mean, like it's
not at
yeah,
all.
it's really not.
Yeah,
like,
no one's saying that.
No. And I mean, and the thing is like, there's really no excuse for being a business and you're blocking people who obviously had a bad time at your event. That's kind of crazy. If someone's saying that they're going to create a documentary about your event, maybe that means they had a bad time. So if you're a business, if you're a restaurant and someone has a bad time at your restaurant and they're eating there, what are you going to do as the manager, as the business owner? You're going to ask them, how can I have made your time better, right?
What I would do is I would absolutely reach out 100%. I think it's important for more people to have conversations in situations like you just described. And I think in this case, I mean, again, I don't have any confirmation other than you just saying that you guys are blocked. I mean,
yeah,
we
can look it up.
I bet you're blocked now. I mean, I definitely believe that 100%. But I don't agree with that. I don't agree that if someone's bashing that you should just get blocked right away. I think if it comes off as maybe some sort of harassment or some sort of defamation, I could see a business taking that action. But I mean, that's just, I didn't block you. That wouldn't be something I would do. So I get what you're saying, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that end. But I guess going into that, then do you feel like artists were treated unfairly at your event at all?
I would say that I know for a fact a lot of the artists on that bill maybe didn't have the greatest experience, whether they paid for a slot, whether their slot was moved, whether they were asked to cut their sets early, not greeted at the gate. But even that, like, none of that was intentional, and none of that was, okay, we want to take advantage of people who want to get on stage for the first time, or we want to do this event that no one knows what's going on. I mean, there were so many factors, and I know you said we'll get into it at the end of it as far as checking all those boxes, but there's a reason for all that. And then as far as any greetings at the door or anything like that, I know you guys say you didn't see it because you might have been blocked at the time, you say. We all made sure that we put it out there that any of the artists who felt some type of way, our lines were open. We wanted to talk to them. We wanted to work with them. I mean, that's I feel you. I'm not saying no one doesn't deserve to feel like they got shat on or dogged out, but we wanted to make that smooth over. You know, I get it. I've been in that position before.
So I mean, are there I guess just to ask before we really ask at the end, are there any artists off the top of your head that you guys have smoothed things out with that you know for sure? Have you
I think Brizzy
recollected, or whatever?
Absolutely. I think Brizzy is a great example of that because I know he was one of the. Well, I know you tapped in with more than 2 cats, but it was him and then there was Bird, right? Who you tapped in with?
Bird, Obi,
Mati, and Jake.
Jake,
right?
Yep.
So,
and a few others like off camera.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying it was just those 2, but those 2 specifically. With Brizzy, we actually very close to the end of the event. It might have even been within that week. Reached out to him and came to an agreement that hey, we know you got your set cut early. We know you paid for your slot. We want you to know next year when we do our festival again, you got a slot. You can rock with us. We'll make sure you get your time and everything. And even then, he broke a $200 microphone that night. So it's like, I mean, I understand being frustrated and such, but to say that we didn't try to make amends or try to tap, I don't know. I don't think that's fair at all.
Yeah,
but
it seemed so. From our conversation, Brizzy said that he did talk to Tony before he went on that set and kind of had that conversation. So maybe you guys had that conversation twice. Maybe he was just trying to reiterate it, so he had you guys on email saying it or something, just to have it solidified. But I do know for sure that that's what he said was your guys' promise to him back. He did say that in the video. He explained that. But you really think though that breaking a $200 microphone for an artist that paid $1,000 who only performed about 10 out of the 15 minutes and got cut off, like is that like something that you need to throw out there to like to somehow make it seem like that he did something wrong? Or is that like, what does the $200 microphone even really have to do?
So the question was were artists treated unfairly, right? So I would feel like that with him specifically, that could be a lot more valid if we didn't already have a conversation about it. I mean, I will admit that there were a lot of things that people were told that they didn't get the day of the event, which I kind of like am on the middle with getting into it because I know you want to wait till the end. But let's say he put his money up for the slot because there were going to be 500 to 1,000 people there, right? So if he made that purchase based on that decision and we were at 273 sales at 2 p.m. at a festival that ends at 11, it's like we're still on pace to do that. We're not trying to take advantage. We don't want anybody to have an unfair experience. I mean, the $200 microphone thing, that doesn't have anything to do with how he was treated. I think those feelings are completely valid. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. That's basically what I was saying is just because, like, I mean, the feelings are valid. I understand why he threw a $200 microphone, and so I'm saying that I think that he was treated unfairly. I think you have said that as well, because at the end of the day, 276 tickets were sold, 500 weren't. Right? It rained. Right.
Right.
So that promise wasn't kept up. Like, and so that's something that bro's mad about. He's looking out in this crowd and there's like 15 people standing there and a bunch of vendors out there and a bunch of other people, just artists doing their thing out there. Like, don't you, that would be a pretty good reason to throw a $200 microphone. I'd say. I
don't think anyone could really make an argument that there's a good reason to break shit, but I get it. And to your point about the crowd and such, I mean, yeah, they weren't out there when it was raining, when it was coming down, but it rained 5 times. And I think when the first rainfall hit, you could kind of take a look around in the crowd and see, like, people were starting to really, like, buy into the idea that this is actually about to be a thing. This is fun. This is dope. And I don't know. I feel like they got lost. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of ways you could look at that. But I guess to move on further to that, did you know all the artists at the event?
All of them?
Yeah, did you know all of
personally?
them?
Personally? No, not at all. But the booking wasn't a part of...
Did you listen to all their music?
Oh, no, not at all. No.
Okay.
But as far as the festival goes, that wasn't, like, the booking part, that wasn't, like, my department. So I didn't...
Did John or Tony know every artist?
Yeah, they did. They would have reached out to them either through a status, through the SotaSound page. And we went around. I know for a fact I went through a couple of days when they were listening to everyone's, Spotify tracks, Apple Music shit. So, I mean, they had heard the music. Sure.
From at least from when we walked in, I had originally talked to Tony because I was like one of the first ones to arrive at the event, and I had told him who I was and everything, and told him, and I was asking him a bunch of questions. He seemed really annoyed, which it seemed like they were going through a lot of stuff, so I understand why people would be annoyed. But I was also asking him in terms of, for our artists' sake, to make sure that they're not driving out here and doing a whole bunch of extra stuff for no reason. I was asking for more information because Eric was still in the cities at the time, and he was on the FaceTime with me the whole time I was having this conversation with him, but he just kind of just brushed me off, like didn't really care, and just told me like, yo, things aren't working out, whatever, come back later.
So it kind of felt like a little like hands off, like, oh, that's fucked up, but
but like later on into the event, Eric also was talking to Tony just a little bit more about the event, and then he says, is Calvino even here? Did Calvino come? And I was literally the person talking to him like almost all day. I'm the person who's literally having conversation. So from that point on, that proves to me that he doesn't know all the artists here. He didn't even know who I was. So that was a huge mistake on his end, which is, I would say, the biggest reason why you're sitting here today is the mistreatment of me and my fellow artists, the people that we brought here to you guys and helped bring to you guys. That was your falter. That is why I am here with this energy for you guys, because you guys really thought like, okay, yo, this since this guy, the white guy, isn't here to talk to you guys and tell you all this stuff, all of a sudden it's not really water wave, or this isn't serious, or I don't know who this person is, so I don't care. But when Eric came, there's a whole different energy. There was a whole different energy. And still, even Jory Callista didn't even know who Eric was. So it was that already just kind of threw us off. So if John X, Tony, you, and Jory are booking an event and you guys don't even know the artist, what does that look like? What does that? You don't even know the sponsors, the people you put on the flyer.
I hear what you're getting at. But with 68, maybe 65, with that many artists on a bill, maybe you're listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music. I mean, you're not, to be honest, like completely transparent, no one's going to be able to name 65, 68 people that they've just listened to on their Spotify list. You're not going to be able to see them all and be like, oh, boom, whoop-de-whoop, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. Now, that's not excusing not knowing you guys as you guys walked in, especially if you were, promised a couple of things to get into the door, to use your name to push the event. I get that 100%. But, I mean, you got to look at it. This guy was up 4 or 5 days in a row. Like, we're all up 4 or 5 days in a row. The mental capacity is going to be diminishing a little bit with the time, and that's not an excuse, but it's a fact. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument that they didn't know you by face, and we're sorry for that. And I would agree that if you're walking into an event, you should be treated as such, especially if you guys were offering your services for, like, no charge to us. Like, I get why you're upset about that, but, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's one of those, attention to details, we didn't give a fuck so we didn't know y'all. It was just, there was so much going on. And I get what you're saying, but that's why.
Yeah, I guess like, to kind of, like, to that response, it just seems very negligent that you would even put people on a lineup that you do not know. That's the whole point of that thing right there. Don't put people on a lineup. We've thrown endless shows. Don't put people on. Why would we put someone on a lineup that we don't know?
What if they want a shot?
It doesn't matter. At least
a lot of local guys.
If they want a shot, look at their DMs, look at their Instagram, identify their face, watch their videos, listen to their music. It's not hard. If you've done that, you should know what they look like. You should know what they sound like. You should know what their name is.
I don't think just because you haven't heard of somebody doesn't mean you shouldn't give them a chance.
And like I just said, if you haven't heard of them, they reached out to you somehow, correct? Through DM or email, right?
Yeah, some of them.
So then you have the ability right there. You have and so you reached out to them. So if you have the ability to look at this person who wants a shot and they DM'd you, you have that ability to click on that profile picture, look at that person's profile, and see who that person is. It's not hard.
Some people don't have pictures on there either.
Then ask for a picture. It's not hard. Any modeling agency would do the same.
I think
or where we're artist passes.
It's very easy to say what we could have done and should have done, which the feedback is 100% accurate. We'll do it next year. Like, that's fair. If you're going to have somebody in your event, you should know who they are. The thing is with this one, we only had 4 months to do it. Naturally, there's going to be a few setbacks. I mean, you're right. I'm not saying you can have people in your venue and your festival, you don't know who they are. That's crazy. But I think that there's room for improvement on a lot of what went wrong with SotaSound. So that's what we're gonna do next year.
No, and I'm glad that at least you can own up to that. I'm glad that you can at least say that. I'm glad, because the thing is it seemed like a lot of people were trying to defend against that, and I'm just trying to clear up whether or not you guys did know all the artists. It seems like you did not, so that's about it. That's the question that I needed to know. You guys didn't know all the artists. There could have been. We already know there could have been a lot of things, but I'm making sure that there could have been things that you guys could have did in retrospect to know who the artists were. But this is for the record. This is for history, for people to know that you guys didn't know who everyone was on that list. And that's the whole point of that question, because like it doesn't really matter what anything could have revolved around. It's really about the point of the fact of what happened. It doesn't matter if it was 4 months. It doesn't matter if there should have been wristbands, if we should have looked at their IGs, if we should have gotten pictures from them. It doesn't matter. It's the fact of it should have happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
should have happened.
But from then on, really, like, why didn't you just make another post too? You made the first original SotaSound post, correct?
Like after it was over with?
Huh? No. At the beginning of SotaSound, you made the original post.
Yep, I did.
And so this is like, why didn't you kind of like update people on what was going on with like SotaSound? Why didn't you make like another one of those like square posts just saying like, yo, this is what's going on throughout the day, or this is what's happening?
We did. So we shot, I believe it was 4 different visuals, updating about the show, talking about what's going on, the new developments, this and that. And to be honest, some of the videographers we worked with either had some tech issues, wanted to change some of the arrangements we had, as far as like, oh, we said we would do this video work for you, but we also want 10 of our guys to come perform, and we want these slots. Like, well, these slots are already spoken for. It was just a lot of things that just didn't go right. I mean, not here to make excuses, but we did make the videos and the visuals, so.
But they just never got posted or put out there.
Yeah, something happened with all of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that's the truth. I mean, yeah.
You mean like videos updating on like what's going to be going on at the event, or what
well,
kind of videos?
Just like things that, so the first video that we did that talked about the facilities that we would have, you know, we also did one that had, oh, we've got this artist coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as like the editing phase went, that's when things got kind of, you know, we didn't get those videos back.
I guess to add on to that, I was more even like with updates throughout the day of
Throughout
like
the
rain
day.
delays and stuff like that. Like, of, like
Oh, so why
like,
not
I couldn't
that
get on
stuff?
I couldn't get on the
Mhm.
phone with nobody. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that type of stuff too.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's fair. Obviously, we should have done some
that
updates
was one
that
of our
day.
major concerns. Like when we were there, we were on the we were full-heartedly on the impression like we agreed to perform at this thing. We
Right.
would love to perform at this thing. We just want to know when we're supposed to be there.
Right.
Whether or not we 100% wanted to be there anymore, we just wanted updates. But we like had to physically go there and talk to them face to face. And he was even there face to face, and it was hard to get answers. And like I know for like some festivals, like if there's like a rain delay, it's pretty common to post every 20-30 minutes like, hey, we have to wait another 30.
Yeah, major festivals.
Messaging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to post on Instagram, like to make an Instagram post. You know what I mean?
When
It takes
you're
30 seconds.
when you're covering sound equipment, when you're talking to owners yelling at you, when you're trying to get your venues covered or vendors covered up, taken care of. I mean, there's a lot of things that we were doing that we just didn't take the time to make the Instagram posts. Like, again, you're not wrong. We could have made those posts. It doesn't take long to make an Instagram post, but we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off because there was so much shit we was dealing with that we didn't do it. I mean, if it rains next year, we'll post on IG about it while it happens. You guys aren't wrong about that, but that's
It
why
was
we
more
didn't
like,
talk about it.
Like just the uncertainty of like
Yeah.
of like what time should I be there? Because like if I know like the noon people are now supposed to be performing at 4, does that mean my 9 o'clock slot is now 1 a.m.? Like what is that? You
Yeah.
know, those were the
Yeah,
questions. That
we're
we were
just-
trying to
that's
get
fair.
answers
That is
Yeah.
we'll
at
take
the
that to the
time.
chin because
Yeah.
like that's fair. if you drove 45 minutes somewhere and based on the idea that, okay, I perform at 2 and then it's 4 o'clock and you haven't performed yet and you haven't gotten an update yet, that's fair. We'll take that to the chin every time. At that point, like, we could have done something to bridge that gap. I'm not saying that ain't the case. It's just that's why it didn't happen. But I feel that. Definitely.
Okay. For sure. Did you guys? We're gonna kind of move on a little bit from the beginning here and how we all got here, but it seems like we got a pretty good understanding of the ownership structure, how that was all going down a little bit. I don't know if you had anything that was different about that ownership structure, but I feel like you've explained it all, like you'd say, right?
Well, I think I should clarify, as far as structurally goes, as far as how it was built and, the ins and outs of that nature. That would be Tony. I'm more of I guess, whatever the equivalent to, like, brand ambassador. So interviews, go get some media press, that kind of thing.
But are you a partner on the LLC?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So
and
you
then
are
John, as far as he goes, John is also one of our owners as well, and he's our main host for the event. So
okay,
yeah.
And then, so, did you guys mention having Waka Flaka potentially be an opener for the show?
Yeah, he was potentially not an opener. He was gonna headline.
Or headliner, sorry, not opener.
We're gonna have Waka.
Yeah, headliner.
No, let me stop. No, so we were gonna have Waka Flaka as the headliner, and we had a $35,000 investor for Waka specifically, right?
Okay.
And what happened with him was, I think he was booked for Lollapalooza, and if he wasn't, then he didn't want to be the only headliner or only national act on the stage, because then the whole crowd would need to be, like, under his pull, so he could ask for a lot more money. So the $35,000 that our investor had was solely to book a national act. It wasn't for paying for the stage. It wasn't for running promo ads, booking local talent. It was under the guys. It's like, okay, if you guys can get a combo with Waka Flocka going, or you can get Big Sean or Luda or whoever, then I'll put $35,000 on it. And we still have the $35,000 for it. It's allocated. It's ready to go. We just couldn't get any of the national acts when we were talking about it to maybe one of y'all about. Maybe,
What was the issue? What was the issue with that? With getting the national acts? So we heard the Lala, we heard Rolling Loud, we heard that kind of excuse come up, but we do know that there are artists who are still big national artists who aren't on those lineups.
Sure. So some of those cats, like I said, didn't want to be the only national act on a first-time festival. Mm-hmm. Some of them,
can you give us like an example apart from Waka of someone who didn't want to be on the festival alone?
Yeah, I got a list right here actually.
Because I find it really hard that an artist really turned down 35 bands. That's the crazy shit to me, is that there's artists that are out here turning down 35 bands. Because, like, we've heard way cheaper from people like Waka. So, like, I'm just trying to figure out where this is necessarily making sense. But
so to answer your question, Ludacris. Yeah, Lupe Fiasco. See, Big Sean. See, looks like they said the Prof is on here, but I don't believe Prof. Like, I don't think we got real far with Prof at all. So I think a lot of it was just not getting responses, or people not interested in booking within 4 months, or a lot of the things that happened to us was when we said, "Hey, we've got this budget. We want to do 35,000." They said, "Well, who else is going to be on it?" And we said, "Oh, you be our biggest guy." That's when we hear back, "Oh, well, if it's just our crowd being brought, we're going to need this much instead." So we just weren't able to hack it. And that's when we tapped in with you guys.
So not everybody then said that they couldn't show up because of being the only person. There's multiple reasons for all those artists that you hit up.
Well, I will say that with the ones that responded about the 35,000, none of them were willing to do that, being the only national headlining act. I mean, it's not that we didn't want to have them. Obviously, that would have made a lot of things go a lot smoother, but we just couldn't get them. We tried, so I don't know. And even with that, we didn't tell people, like, the artists. We weren't like, "Hey, we got Waka, come through and get on this show." We were like, "Hey, we're in talks with these guys. We want to get Waka. We want to get a national act. We want to get a headliner." And when we didn't, we made sure that was communicated.
Mm-hmm.
So like the idea, I guess, when like selling a slot, or like from our perception, it seemed like like $35,000 was going to be spent on acts, regardless if it was going to be Waka or just one focus, right? Like from just I guess the perception that was like sold to me because like for the way that we got there was to like to perform for free. It was like oh, we're gonna spend $35K on a headliner. You're gonna be able to camp for free. You're gonna be able to have a cabin for free. You're gonna do these things, right? So I was just a little curious, like telling artists like, hey, yeah, we're gonna be spending $35,000 on an artist like Waka Flaka. Spending $500 to open up for someone like that and getting that slot towards the end would be pretty cool because that's how I was pitched. I was told we were gonna get there's gonna be $35,000 spent on an artist like Waka Flaka, and if we couldn't get him, like we're gonna try to find someone else.
Somebody.
So
okay,
I was under the impression that there's a $35,000 budget for this festival. There's no reason why this thing should flop, right? To spend, even if you spent $5K on 7 different artists, that would be like, you know what I mean? Like if you have $35,000 to spend on like a bunch of people,
you
like,
could in theory do it.
In theory, so I'm like, yeah, we would love to perform for free and get one of those last slots before the opener goes on in exchange for promoting the event heavily and whatnot. Like that seemed like a very fair deal. It gets our artists a good impression and whatnot. And then I can understand why some of these artists may pay $500 to $1,000 to get an opportunity like that as well. That doesn't necessarily have the backing of their brand equity and whatnot. So I could understand that. So I was just curious, like, if that was another method that was being communicated in that way to these artists to be persuaded into basically being okay with spending a band. Because I know that there was talks of like promising how many people would be there, but like saying we have $35K to spend on artists, like was that communicated to these artists as well that were being also emailed messages saying these are open slots? You know what I mean?
So are you making sure that the like, 35,000 was like told like what it was for specifically, like us booking one national act, or
let's just say Brizzy, for example, or any other name on there that maybe that paid any amount of money, like were they communicated, hey, we might have a $35K act, or is that just us as a brand that was going to be involved on the flyer? You know what I mean? Like, was that communicated with everybody, every artist that paid to be on there, or just
so we
just like
definitely
the partnered
we weren't
brands?
talking money like that, like as far as with the artists who were going to be on the bill. I mean, we did let them know that we were looking into headliners, but we weren't talking about we're trying to get this person for this amount of money. Like that wasn't really, so at least at the time, it wasn't pertinent information to them as far as how we got the headliner.
But the goal was to have a main person besides a local Minnesota person.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely,
mean, like definitely no slack to anybody on that lineup. But there wasn't like an outsourced act at the end that everyone was like, I'm gonna stay here all day so I can see them.
Right. It was mostly like, I don't want to say small, but it was local cats.
It was a SotaSound.
Yeah.
It wasn't SotaSound featuring Waka Flocka. You know what I mean? Like it was SotaSound.
100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because like also like because I also wanted to just know like how did that go of you telling people that we weren't going to necessarily, because we know how you guys told us. We basically had to find it out when we saw the flyers. So like that's what I'm trying to figure out.
So you want to know how we told the artist that Waka wasn't going to be there,
or that there was no national act, because from your first video on SotaSound, you had explained there will be big national acts.
So when
like
people asked us about that, like who's gonna be our headliner, what like whoop de whoop, if they were doing it on, because mainly our communications with artists was on the SotaSound Instagram. Okay. So we had conversations with them when they would say, hey, what's going on with Waka? What's going on with the headliners? Like, okay, we weren't able to get him, but here's what we're doing instead. And that was it. So we had a lot of individual conversations. There wasn't like a mass email sent out, but we did make sure that everybody who was on that bill, we talked to them about it.
Yes. So then why? I guess why? Yeah. Why did we find out then until the flyer was dropped?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean,
so then all the artists were not hit up then. So that's the thing is like, we have to show the ownership.
Didn't Tony talk with Waka with you? Didn't he say that we couldn't get him anymore?
After we saw the flyer.
No, he said he said that you couldn't get Waka, but he didn't say that there wasn't going to be a headliner.
He said that there wasn't going to be Waka.
He said Waka might not go through, and I was like, yeah, let me connect you with a few other acts. Like I connected him like with like Gravy's manager and whatnot, just like a few and whatnot. I was like, hey, let's try this then. But then he's like, okay, bet. Like right now you're still in the searching process for a headliner. So that was the last phone call we had about a headliner, and then a week or two later, maybe a month later, the timeline. The flyer drops and there's no headliner, and then I text Tony that like same day I see him like, yo, there's no headliner.
And then what's up with that shit?
Yeah, like all right.
Yeah. I would say if you guys weren't reached out to or talked with before that, that's something that should have been done. Take that to the chin too. I mean, we did have those conversations with the artists who were performing on the bill, but if you and your camp wasn't told about it, then we fucked up on that.
Our camp was 4 artists on that bill, so that's like a big thing right there. Is like, it's not just about like your camp. We're saying that 4 artists weren't hit up, so there's no way that all of the artists were hit up and told that there's not any headliner. Like, and I feel like that's a reasonable assumption to make, because I wasn't hit up, so that already means that there was no hit up about, okay, no headliners here. Because unless you're saying that the artist had to ask what's going on with the headliner to get a response about it.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy. That would be. That's not good.
Exactly.
I mean, no one's like, yeah.
Exactly. So then there was negligence in not telling the artist that there is no headliner, because I know I paid money to get a hotel to stay out there the night before. I know Jake spent money to get that camper and to be in that spot, which he was promised 2 weeks before the event.
Sure.
So like, we know that we had at least 2 artists spending money to be a part of your event. So my big question is, I just want you, like I said, for history, to be able to tell the cameras, yes, we did not message every artist. That was something that you just said, was you guys reached out to every artist, but you didn't. And you can literally say that right now.
So does this count for anything that might have been talked about in person at all? I mean, at this point, like, I'm not saying.
Yeah, I mean, no one talked to me in person about any headliner. So that's what I'm saying is, where was every artist told that there isn't going to be a headliner by any of you or any of your staff?
Before the flyer drop.
Before the SotaSound event, was every artist told by somebody in you or your staff that there will not be a headliner?
So would it help if I just had like a list of the communications with everybody? Because I feel like that would go a long way here.
So
and
I think no. So the question is really just a yes or no question.
Was every artist contacted?
Was every artist contacted about the headliner not being able to show up?
If Waterwave had 4, no.
Okay. So then I think that was. I'm just asking you to clear up your statement about you saying that we contacted everybody, that the headliner wouldn't be there before the event, because that's not true. So like, I just need to make sure that you're telling the truth here for the camera, to make sure that we do have that on record, because I don't want this interview to end and we don't have the questions that people need answered. Okay, that's simple. Sure. I think that's definitely simple and definitely understandable. But basically, let's go deeper into the event. Like, were there 2 stages set up at the event at the same time?
Yep.
There was 2 stages going at the same exact time.
Yes. No. There were 2 stages, but they weren't going at the same time.
Okay.
What happened
there? You said exactly what I just said in the video. So I'm just making sure.
Hold on.
I'm just making sure that we were both.
So the reason why both of
the
stages weren't going at the same time was because days before the event happened, the owner said, "Hey, we thought about it. We don't want 2 sounds going on at the same time because there's going to be a lot of noise traffic." So what we did was we reached out to our sound techs and said, "Hey, owner said this. What can we do to combat it? We've got 60 plus artists. We can't do 1 stage at a time." Okay. They said, well, what we can do is we can move the big stage from the small stage, separate them on opposite ends of the field, and align the speakers so they're pointed 2 different directions, so we won't have to worry about that.
Okay.
So we came up with that. Then the owner said, okay, that's cool. 2 days after that, so at this point would be 3 days before the event goes down, they say, well, we don't want to move the stages. They are where they are. So we couldn't do anything about it.
I feel that. So I guess because I just seen in the advertising point, you did have the whole like 2 stages thing. Yeah. So I was just trying to make sure
we had 2 stages.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely 2 stages, but they weren't going at the same time. Yep.
That was we had a similar issue.
We can agree. We can agree on that.
Absolutely. We can agree on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But what happened with the big stage? What was the whole issue with that? Why?
So with the big stage, they said we can do. That was the biggest selling point they had for us. They said we can do this event, and we've got this mega stage for you. Boom. That was it. That was the end of the conversation. So then we promote it. We say we've got this huge stage. We get the artists' attention because of that. Most of them have never played on a stage that big before. Obviously, you get what I'm getting at here. But they said we could have this stage. And then with that one, it was about 3 weeks before the day of the event where they said, hey, we see you've got these ticket sales here. We've got your numbers and everything looks good, but we're not 100% sure we want to do the big stage anymore. Like, what do you mean you're not sure if you want to do the big stage? They said, well, you guys have a few hundred people who's showing interest. You've got a lot of people buzzing about it online, but we're used to having like Kiss open up this big stage. So we're just not 100% sure if we want to still do it. And we said, what do you mean not 100% sure? They said, well, I'll tell you what. They said, if you want to pay, it was either $7,000 or $10,000, but said if you want to pay this sum of money, we can hire the staff to open up this big stage. Even though the entire pitch that they had for us was, if you throw this event here, you can use this stage and a smaller stage. But that's why we didn't have the big one anymore. And then people were saying, if you have a $35,000 budget, why wouldn't you allocate that towards the big stage, which would make sense, but our investor only wanted to use that to book the headliners. So
right. So then I
in.
guess so it's costing about $7,000 to $10,000 to raise this stage, right?
Right, raise the big stage.
And so like I wasn't off on that, because that's what I had heard. I just heard that in the.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I'm just trying to fact check myself here, because from our first conversation when you hit me up about like let's do this interview, there was a lot of things that I supposedly got wrong in this video. I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't get these things wrong. We're going literally down the line of the video, and I'm just trying to make sure I didn't get these wrong.
We're checking boxes.
Yep, we're checking. We're just checking. Yeah. But so $7,000 to raise that stage. I get it. You guys didn't have the $35,000 budget, but with artist payment, with what you promised, and the fact that you guys didn't tell. You didn't hear 3 weeks before that stage wasn't going up, right? I didn't hear. Trayson didn't hear. Jake didn't hear. Brizzy didn't hear. Lil Bird didn't hear. None of them heard. So who did you guys tell that stage wasn't going to go up if you knew 3 weeks before that it wasn't going to be up?
So for that, if you weren't told that by Tony or anyone that the stage wasn't being built up, I don't know. That's terrible. You know, we definitely should have.
I guess, yeah, like it was definitely told a few days before the event, but that was at the same time that like the big bombshell was dropped of like, oh, we can't promise this, we can't promise that, no more stage. It was like a big bombshell like 3 days before.
So it all came at once instead of like a rollout or even like, when it happened as it happened.
Yeah, like especially if it was like a 3 week thing or because I remember getting the call like it was either 2-3 days before, and he was like, we're not raising the stage, and I was like, damn, like that was like the whole thing we were advertised or whatever and whatnot, and yeah, but that just
to jump on that, to be real, we really wanted that big stage, and even up to the day before the festival went down, we were still trying to scrape it together because they said if we get the money together, even if it's 24 hours before that event starts, we can figure something out. So we really did. We just held on to the reins as long as we could, and if it didn't get communicated out, that's why. Not because we didn't want artists to not know, so we could be like, oh, gotcha, like you're here already. Like that wasn't the intent. Again, that's another one of those things where I saw the documentary, I'm like, yeah, I see how that looks, and I get that, but that's why it went down the way it did.
Yeah, but you gotta at least be able to see that the transparency is needed in any. If you're throwing any event, you need to be 100% transparent with the people that you're trying to have part of the event, because they're the ones who made your event. Like I don't think that there would be any SotaSound if there was no artist. So if we're not letting the artist know what's going on, how are we expecting to continue to do SotaSound in all this time period?
So as far as the communication goes, because I get where you're coming from on that too. As far as the communication goes, we had Jory running our emails as well, right? And there were a lot of things, including like some of those updates that you brought up. There are a lot of things that just happened to slip through the cracks, and that's not a knock on her because she worked super hard. She's not going to be a part of SotaSound in 2023. We had a lot of issues with how we executed a lot of things, and we're going to go a separate direction. But no knock on her. I'm just saying, like, what you're saying is valid, and we're trying to make the steps to move past that and do something better next year. Again, we'll take whatever apology we have to the chin. We are not saying that we threw a banger of a festival. We're not saying this was like a major success by any means. We're trying to be accountable. We're trying to build it better, and we're trying to make sure that we take care of everybody who felt like they had a bad experience.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here right now.
Yeah, and I guess my biggest thing is to find the. I can. Oh, okay.
I just unplugged it plug it back in. Sometimes it just does that.
So yeah, like I was saying, like a lot of those communications that you had brought up as far as like updating artists as things happen, being transparent about the stage is not going down, like etc. Like these are a lot of things that we asked be communicated, and they just happen to slip through the cracks. So that's why next year we're gonna get a whole different staff. We're doing this different.
So somebody wasn't doing their job. Basically,
I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus here,
but
that's what happened.
Yeah,
right?
someone wasn't doing their job.
That's if they were, why would we be having this conversation?
Yeah,
we wouldn't.
No,
so
for sure. So I guess to keep going with the big stage, I'm just like, I had someone who had reached out for me from a company called Allied Productions, who actually owns the stage from River's Edge. They told me that you guys had never contacted anyone about that stage in general. There was nobody contacted. Not a single person at River's Edge even knew about that stage going up. So here's the original agreement. So I'll literally tell you, I have the proof from the employee who works there. We don't need to really say his name too much, but he can vouch for this. We can call Allied Productions. They can vouch that that's their stage. But what I'm going to tell you right here is River's Edge contacted Allied Productions. They were never, this is far beyond the sound set or SotaSound festival. River's Edge asked to buy that stage. It's actually kind of crazy. And there was a whole written agreement for them to buy it for about, I think it was like $30K or something. We have the messages. Jackson, you could pull them up. We have $30K, I think it was, to buy that stage. River's Edge never ended up sending that money over to Allied Productions, so technically it's just their stage sitting there. River's Edge didn't have the tools to put up that stage because that was what was going to come with the $30K from Allied Productions to get that tour.
They didn't say that to us.
And so I'm letting you know.
What they told us was that they have the big stage.
And I'm letting you know. I know. And I'm letting you know that right now you took people's money without even having that big stage booked at all. Nobody booked it. No one booked it. You didn't book it. You guys didn't even make sure that it was booked. Nothing happened. You didn't even make sure that they had the tools to put that stage up there.
Well,
and that's the crazy part.
And we saw the stage. We went there. We checked it out. They own the site. It's private, grounds. They said that they have the stage. It's literally there. I mean, I think at best you can make a very strong argument that have this in a contract, have this in writing. But even then, it was an arms shake agreement on the stage. We took the money for it and we allocated that towards paying for the sound, paying for the lights, and everything else came out of our own pockets. I mean, I don't know. I hear you, but that's why we went with saying we had a big stage. That's what we were told by the owners. That's it.
So the owners told you guys you had a big stage.
They showed it to us.
They showed you guys. I mean, it's there. It's not. It can't really just be moved and picked up around. But did they show you guys that they showed you guys that they've controlled that stage? They showed you guys how to use it, how it all works, how all the lights work, and everything. You guys got that through the whole.
We talked to their staff for their audio techs, their light techs, and they said, okay, well, here's how we're going to raise it up. This and that. Whoop. It's a bunch of stuff that I've never raised the stage personally, so I kind of just have to go with what the professionals say that they're doing. So that's why we went with that stage.
And you guys had no confirmation that the stage would actually go up then before the event.
Other than them saying
River's Edge. River's Edge is the
person
person who said that.
Yep.
Yeah.
River's Edge said that they would have the stage.
And then on top of that, I guess
we went with it.
If you had the artist pay, where was the set? Why couldn't you guys just scrape together $7,000? I mean, we know that there was $2,000 at least paid from artists. So where was the other? Did any other artist pay, or
are you asking if other artists paid to perform?
Yeah, did any other artist pay to perform apart from the $2,000 that we have seen?
Some artists paid to perform, yeah. So the reason why they did it, they didn't have to pay. Like, we had a lot of slots that we offered where we said, hey, if you want to perform at SotaSound, you can come in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1:30, whatever. You can come perform, but if you want a specific time slot or something better to prime time, you can pay if you would like to, but you don't have to. And even then, we sent out contracts that said, hey, we got this slot for you. It's going to cost this much. If you want to do that, go ahead and sign the dotted line and send it in. And people sent it in. I mean, I could see maybe if we promised, hey, come perform at SotaSound, and after you said yes, we reached out after the fact, said, oh, by the way, it's going to be 500, it's going to be 1,000. Like, that's fucked up, but that's not what happened. That's not what we did.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't really getting into exactly what you guys did with that. I'm really trying to figure out what you did with the money and why not. Like,
Yeah,
so
I
we already
said
know.
we paid for the sound
Yeah.
and the
So
lights.
so
what's
then
the
we know
question?
that $2,000 is allocated. From the guests that we had on our documentary.
Right.
You just confirmed that more people did pay you guys. Why couldn't, at least if you guys got sound, lights, all this other stuff, why didn't the $7,000 go to raising the stage?
Well, we didn't need to do the giant stage. If we had to need sound, we had to need lights. That's what we allocated those funds for. I mean, if we had a $7,000 bonus, I think you have a really good point. I think you could say, oh, you have all this extra money. Why not use it for the big stage then? But we didn't even have the money to put the stage up for $7,000 after we paid out all of our tech, staffing, etc.
So
That's why it went
so
the way it
our
did.
imaginary stage, we didn't have $7,000. This is what I'm clearing up here. So we have an imaginary stage that was never even booked by y'all,
Not
that you guys
imaginary,
didn't
though.
know about. You guys
was
didn't know
there.
about. You guys didn't know about. Because you can admit this. You can admit that you did not know that River's Edge basically scammed y'all and said that you guys had this stage and you didn't know about it. You can
They
just
didn't
say
own the
that.
stage.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
You can
if
just
they,
say we
if
didn't
they
know
said that
they
they
said that.
didn't, and again, like if you've, like I'd have to see it, and I'm going word of mouth. I believe you.
Yep,
I'm not
yep.
saying you're lying, but if they said that they have a stage and that they don't have it, that would be a scam. That means we got scammed. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just, because I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to let you know that, like, hey, if you didn't know that stage is supposed to be up there and people are just throwing this $7,000 in your face, say that then. Say that then, because from what everyone else understands is that you guys were the ones who knew everything about that stage. You knew about how that stage was going to go up, but you didn't put it up. And other people paid you. And why didn't it go up then? Because that was part of the experience people were paying for. You know what I'm saying? Like, intentionally, from watching the video, even Brizzy said it himself. He was the person who paid you $1,000. He thought that there was going to be that big stage.
Right.
So, like, if you didn't even know what was truly going on with that stage, you just got to say that. Say that you don't even know. Tony didn't know. Jory didn't know. John didn't know.
So
At the end of the day,
when the
we said we
conversations
did, but
were
we didn't.
happening, we thought that the stage was going to be there. We wouldn't have said it otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the artists or the funds from the slots, like we all told them, like, hey, we're using these funds to make the SotaSound Festival pop off. We were very transparent about it. So I don't know what to tell you,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's
No, I
what
mean,
we did it
I
for.
feel you. I feel you. And I feel like sometimes, like, you may think that something's going one way, and obviously, like we've said before, you didn't take the correct steps to make sure that you don't get jibbed on any of those things. But, like, I'm
Yeah.
here to let you know.
But there's
I'm here to
some
let you
things
know, because if you
that'll
can't take
happen.
ownership for this, that means that this festival was never supposed to happen in the first place. Because if y'all can't take ownership for not knowing about this Allied Productions, you can go and ask River's Edge who Allied Productions is, and I promise you they'll give you an answer. But I'm letting you know, if you didn't know about Allied Productions, say that for these cameras, and there really shouldn't be much else to say, because
But that implies that we didn't know of Allied. We heard the name before then. Now, as far as the stage ownership, if Allied owns that, I mean, that's different. Like, I'll take that to the chin. If we didn't know Allied owned this stage, sure, fine. But we knew Allied Productions. We knew of them. They brought the name up.
Okay.
So to say we didn't know Allied Productions.
So in
is-
what context did
that's
they
false.
bring up Allied Productions to you guys?
So when we were building up the festival and trying to find out who we wanted to get for sound and light techs, Allied was one of the first people that they brought up. I'm assuming after hearing you talk about that, it's because they got a working history, but that's why.
So the dots are starting to connect a little bit here. Does that help connect a little bit of the dots here? Like, I mean, it's cool that you knew of them before, but now I am here to tell you that they are the owners of that stage that you guys promoted your show behind. And they didn't know about y'all. They had no clue who y'all were. So I'm telling you right now, who is to blame for that, right?
If they said that and it wasn't true, they just said they didn't know about us. Maybe they didn't want to work with us. Maybe there could be 1,000 reasons for it. I don't know. That's it.
But you get, like, but you see what I'm saying, right? Though, like, there's people who paid you $1,000 who saw this big stage and they're like,
Yeah, we
oh my
talked
God,
about
I want to
this.
be on that stage.
We talked
Right.
about that.
So it's like you do get though that like in the terms of the contract where you guys said in faith and good standing, this isn't good standing. How is that good standing? You didn't even know that the stage was even going to be standing. How is that good standing?
We still wanted to get the stage,
But you didn't know. You weren't sure. How is that good faith and good standing?
I
That
don't
is
know
one of the
how many times we
clear
have to
asterisks.
say we can do things better next year. How many
You're gonna
times
have.
we
You're
can-
probably
we'll do it
gonna-
every.
yeah,
we'll do
you're
it every
gonna
time
have-
somebody does it.
You're gonna have
But
to say it a
for
lot,
the
bro.
sake
You're
of-
gonna have to say it a lot,
Right. And we'll say
Like-
we'll apologize if we have to apologize.
Yeah.
But like for this specific, I mean, we literally have covered that already. We're covering it again and again and again. And I already said sorry about that to you, so you can ask it as much as you want. I'll keep doing it, but
So basically, River's Edge just fed you the false information.
if they don't, which
'Cause
and
they
I'm not saying y'all lying, but I don't have any. I haven't seen
flashed
anything.
We flashed
We
the text on the
flashed it.
screen.
Yeah,
when we
I can
talked
show
about
you
it.
here from my phone. I can
Yeah,
show you
let me
too.
see that.
I'll
And I'm
just
not
make sure
like
Yeah,
for
there's-
the
yeah, no,
if they said that, then yeah, that's bull. We got scammed. We'll
It's
take that
all
to the
good.
chin.
Oh, yeah, apparently, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess they just said the stage was never booked for that event. Is what
Yep.
they were saying.
Right, okay. So,
So
if they
River's
said that,
Edge never at least led that hand of being like, "Yo, can we use the stage? And how much would it cost?"
so if River's Edge never had that communication with Allied, that's
So
fucked
you
up.
you didn't
and if
communicate with Allied. You only communicated with River's
River's
Edge.
Edge.
River's Edge said you could use the stage as part of the grounds, and then eventually they were like, "Yo, it's gonna cost $7K to lift it." Actually, so we don't got the $7K, so you're not using the stage. Is basically what you did with them, right?
right, so we took the
The whole
stage based
time.
on the whole like, okay, they said they have the stage.
Yeah,
we
the whole
see it,
time
we got it.
it's not even
And-
River's Edge's stage.
And with Allied, right?
Allied.
Now this is why I'd like to. I don't know if Tony or Joy talked with Allied. I didn't personally talk with them at all. So if they said something as far as, "Hey, this is our stage," to them, I couldn't speak on
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah, because that's what basically what one of their employees was saying is that no SotaSound representative or anybody hit them up about SotaSound. So like the stage was never actually at one point ever booked to potentially be used and then found out, oh, actually it's going to cost another $7K. You know what I mean?
so okay,
Like
so
the
if
stage was
Allied-
never once like, oh, the stage is booked for the SotaSound date. Like that was never solidified, and then that was just never solidified basically.
that
so the stage was never-
stage is Allied. It's not River's Edge. Right? Okay. So like I said, because we were moving this whole thing under the impression that, and this is for you too, Kelvino, right? Like we're moving under the impression that they have the stage and that it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not a professional with raising like sound and lights.
Yeah.
I see a stage at a private event or a private venue. I'm like, all right,
And I
this
guess
is theirs.
so I'm curious, like when you rented River's Edge from them, it was free, right? The venue.
Yeah, we didn't rent it at all. They reached out to us
reached
and
out,
said they had
let
the
you
day.
use it.
Right.
Did you do any type of contract with them at all to use the space? And in that contract, did it say anything about using the main stage? That's because like if they did do that, then you really aren't even the ones to blame for that specific scenario. Then River's Edge was overpromising something that they never actually had control over. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
So-
that's where the confusion is here. Is like
Yeah.
because from our end when we heard they never booked the stage, we're thinking, oh, you guys are gonna say we're gonna use the stage, and then come showtime, oh, actually we can't lift it because it's $7K. But whole time you guys never booked the stage.
never had any
It never was
intention.
once booked, and that was an
Yeah.
overpromised thing.
So that's one thing I definitely want to hop on there and say, like, this is something that should have obviously had an ironed out written contract with River's Edge, like obviously, and that's it's obvious, but we didn't do it, so
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. We were running around doing so many things, building the actual festival, that we just didn't get that drawn up where we can say, hey, we've got this stage with these specs, we need it for this amount of time. We didn't do that, so yeah, we'll take that to the chin. Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So another thing to take to the chin. So you literally made people pay for a concert that you did not have like a true relationship, a contract agreement with the people that you're throwing the venue on.
So the consultant I mentioned earlier in the interview, the guy who was kind of the bridge between River's Edge and then our camp,
Yeah.
he has contracts or had contracts with them over the years and such. They've worked together, and this is just somebody like, you have a really good friend, and you're like, okay, this is someone they showed their word. They've showed, like, it's kind of like, all right, took him at his word for it, and he didn't scam us. It wasn't his fault, but he had these contracts with these guys before, and That's it. That's why it went the way it did.
Yeah, like I just like Brandon. I'm just really hoping that you can like see and understand where people would look at this as a cash grab. Like you guys,
I can see
you
how
guys
it looks
didn't,
like a
you
cash
guys
grab,
didn't
but
have.
it's not a cash grab.
But you promised things that you couldn't fulfill, and you took people's money for it. Why? What, like, and you're gonna say I can take that to the chin, and we take that to the chin, and we do all this, but it's like you knew these things. We're telling you all the shoulda, woulda, couldas. These are multiple things that have just gone completely
I'm just
south.
not understanding what. I mean, I get the emotion behind it, but I don't really know what all I can say if I'm already like, all right, like I get it. It wasn't ran as good as it could have ran,
Right.
but that's why we're doing it again, and we're gonna keep doing it.
So how would you how can you tell artists that this isn't a cash grab?
How can we tell them it's not a cash grab?
How can you tell them that
Well,
last
if
event
you
was
tell
not a
them
cash grab?
What the money was for, which we did, we told them it was going to be allocated towards building up the festival, then I think that's honest and transparent. Now, I'll admit, if we didn't have the big stage that we promised, like, yeah, that's not great, but it's not a cash grab. We told them what we're using the money for.
But it's not just the big stage. It's the headliner. It's the accommodations. It's multiple things. But you still took people's money even though you couldn't give back what you promised.
And we also discussed that we should and will move forward with being transparent about it. I mean, yeah, mistakes were made. That's literally why I'm sitting here. I mean,
I feel you. But
Yeah.
but that's, I guess what I'm saying is you're answering everything but the question that I'm asking.
about the cash grab?
Yes.
I just said that it was not a cash grab. I told them that we need.
But why
we've taken
wouldn't
these
it be a
slots
cash grab?
because
Do you know
we're-
what the definition of cash grab is?
What is the definition of a cash
So
grab?
the definition of cash grab is to acquire money immorally.
Immorally, right?
Yes.
That's the key word, though. There wasn't
Right.
any ill intent.
But
There wasn't anything
Listen,
sketchy.
Brandon.
There wasn't
Listen,
anyone
Brandon.
trying to
Day
take
one.
advantage.
Day one of Soundset.
That would be immoral.
Day one of
SotaSound.
Soundset. You're so my bad, Rhyme Sayers. I don't mean to shout that out. Day one of SotaSound, you knew that stage wasn't going up. Why didn't people receive their money back?
They didn't buy the slots for the big stage solely. If
What
they did,
what did they buy the slots for?
in your documentary, there was the young man y'all interviewed who said, I wanted to come for the opportunity to network. So that's just one thing that somebody might have come out to do, meet new artists, meet new people. If he'd have said, I came out here to play on the big stage, maybe you'd have an argument, but even then, that wasn't the only reason why. And
okay.
like the moral thing is what, like, I get that it wasn't a perfect festival. I would get that it wasn't even a successful festival, but I don't hear the immoral.
We can't sit here and lie about morals. You can say whatever you want about someone saying that they're there to come and see our artists. You can say that, but I'm telling you, Brandon, if you know that a stage isn't going to go up because you promised some artists that there was going to be this big stage they were going to perform on, even if that's not the only basis, you also promise 500 to 1,000 people for these artists.
And it
so
rained.
right, but you still seen that it wasn't 500 tickets sold though. Like I know you saw that. Like
so we
it's like-
had 273 at 2 p.m., which means we were on pace to hit 500.
But it was probably
That's
Had
2
the-
500 to
p.m.
1,000
That's
before,
500. Yeah, that's
like, at the
before.
time of purchase of the $1,000.
Yeah.
So if we had said, "Hey, we've sold 500 pre-sales," would we be having a different conversation right now? Like, would that be the thing that like makes it less?
It was
I'm
just
just
something
it's
that
the
he
immoral
knew
thing.
around.
Like,
something that he was-
No, because
It's
there's
the immoral
also the
thing.
stage thing. There's also the artist meeting other people thing. There's more than that. That's the whole point.
But the
so
networking
I'm saying,
happened. It was there. People could
where
have done that.
Obi didn't network with Trace and Green. That's who he told us in his video he wanted to network with.
Yeah, there were
Why
other
did-
people there. There were videographers there. There were photographers there.
That's not. But that's not the point, though. You're missing the point.
You said
What
it was
I'm-
immoral, and you're saying that we're trying to promise something we didn't have, which outside of the stage, we just talked about how it wasn't just the big stage that people were buying. I'm just, the moral thing, I feel like you're not, that's what I'm trying to connect with you. I don't get the immoral thing.
And I'm telling you that morals is knowing when something is right and wrong. Knowing that that stage 3 weeks before the event is not going to go up means that you knew people were coming to pay y'all $100, $500 to perform on that stage. And you knew that that stage wasn't going to go up even till the second that that first person stood on that secondary big stage, whatever the hell y'all had connected to it. You knew that they weren't ever going to raise that thing. So you need to understand that morally, you should have told someone and gave their money back, because you should have been like, yo, bro, we ain't sell the tickets. We ain't getting the stage. We ain't doing all this. We ain't getting all the people that you promised. And most likely, we're not going to have all the same people on stage, or there's going to be sound permits, or there's going to be all this other stuff. You're going to get cut off at 11 p.m.
Things that we said we would have that we didn't have. That's why I'm here to clear it up.
Exactly.
And say next year when we do this again, it'll be better.
We're not worried about next year.
You guys aren't.
We're not.
But that's why I'm here, because I'm worried about
and
next
I get
year.
that, but there won't be a next year. There won't be a next
thing that doesn't
and that's what I'm telling you. There won't be a next year if you can't admit right from wrong. Morality is right from wrong. Was that right to still throw an event and throw those people on that mini secondary stage when you knew that they wanted to be on that big one?
I feel
was
like
that right?
You had a point to make about the immoral part. You were about to say something just now.
It's more of like, if you can't basically, if you think that
deflection,
that if you're, you know, if the item sold basically is, this was public knowledge. You posted the pictures of the big stage. This is the home of SotaSound.
Right.
Artists are seeing this. They're buying it because of what you are promoting. It's
Right.
on your public page. This is public knowledge. People can see, oh, I want to perform on that stage. That whether or not it was in the exact contracted agreement or email that said, and included in your payment, you will be performing on a big stage. This is what was sold to the artist in a sense, right? This is their perception of what I'm getting myself into. And that, I guess, basically, that not happening and being told maybe the 500 or 1,000, let's say you did, 270 tickets. There just a few things like added up of like, I was told this, didn't get that. I told them that, didn't get that. And just like the idea of like, if you don't like think that they at least would deserve, let's just say half of their money back. Like, hey, you paid for it. You paid. We are providing a lot, but I understand like we didn't get to give you everything you want. Here's at least like half the money back, because like there's half the people I told you there, and we have half of a cool stage. For
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that would be a morally correct deal in my eyes. Like we can't, we weren't able to do everything we promised. It's just like if you go and cut someone's yard and your mower runs out of gas halfway through, and you can only cut half the yard, you're not going to charge the whole yard, or maybe not charge. You know what I mean?
Just like that
in a sense like that.
So that
Just like
that makes sense.
Because like
so
now you're hearing him though. Like,
So-
how are you now hearing him? I'm so confused.
Can I just?
No, I'm gonna
I can't
continue.
make my point?
No, because you
Can I
couldn't.
ask
You
me a
couldn't
question
figure
about
out the
moral
morals,
and not-
and
okay.
now you're figuring it out because he just explained it to you.
Just,
That's true.
I just said that if we didn't have it ironed out in the contract, then that one would be on us. 100%, definitely. I think that is where the problem lies, and it's not really about us trying to take advantage of artists saying we've got this thing and then pulling the rug out. Like that's where the hang up is.
Because how can an artist for SotaSound 2 or SotaSound 2023, whatever,
Yeah.
how can, if you're telling them, oh, we're gonna have a big stage, oh, we're gonna have a big artist, if you can't admit that was all more like basically accepting their money and not giving them a refund or whatever it may be to make it right, if they accept whatever's making it right.
We wanted to make it right.
Yeah, but so basically, can artists expect, if they're going into next year's SotaSound, if that's what you're worried about, if you can't admit that like that was morally wrong to continue the event? I even talked to Tony a couple of days before the event, and he said when the news broke, if we're not getting this, not getting that, no stage, the weather's supposed to be bad, and I even talked to him. I was like, you ever have a thought about canceling it or postponing it? And he's like, yeah, but we already got so much stuff locked in, like we're just gonna go with it. So he knew it would, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a point right there where it's like all this stuff is locked in, people have paid, we want the money's locked in. I know it's not gonna be as good as we promised, but we're gonna go with it.
Yep.
Like that's not morally what those people wanted. Regardless if it didn't say in the contract, I'm performing on a big stage that's X amount of feet high or whatever it may be. Like that's the moral part of it. Of like this went through knowing it wasn't gonna be as promised, and apparently just wasn't communicated as well with every artist to where they were like maybe had the last minute decision to be like, hey, we don't have a big stage, we're not going to have a big artist, we've only sold 200 tickets, like just to update you, like, are you sure, like, do you still want to do this in a sense, or like, hey, like,
gotcha.
That would be something to like let someone know, like if I'm purchasing something and it's supposed to come with X, Y, and Z, but it only comes with X, I would assume that I should not have to pay full price.
So with that, I remember probably 2 conversations that me, Tony, John, Jory had, and we're like, okay, we've got all these things that we might not even have it. It's days before the event. So we might not end up having the big stage. You may not end up having this or that or whatever. We had this conversation. We're like, yo, should we not do this? And took a vote on it. and the vote ended up was like, we're gonna die by the sword. We're gonna put this on here, and then we're going to see what we can work on for next year.
So there was
That's
never a
why it
talk of like,
happened.
hey, these people paid a lot of money. We're not going to be able to promise them what they paid for, except not in maybe a contracted terms, but in a sense of like communicated.
I feel like hearing "Die
Yeah.
by
You know
the
what I mean?
Sword,"
Like-
you already know exactly what they were
So-
doing.
that's where
now.
the cash grab thing
When
comes in.
when they
Sure.
said "Die by the Sword,"
So
they
as
said we're
far
going to take
as-
this money
as far
and we're
as
going to
the,
continue.
as
There's
far as the
no
artists who
other
paid
way
for-
around that.
hang on.
Like,
as far as the artists who pay for their slots, people who bought tickets to the event and didn't get the experience they wanted, we actually want to make sure all those cats get in free next year. All the people who paid for slots can get the same slots that they had before, and we want to just the people who are willing to hear us out, we want to make it right with them. If we can't, if like people heard this and said, "Oh, SotaSound's a bunch of scammers, this and that," it's like we can't convince you. We can apologize, like we fucked up on that part of it. Sure, we had a lot of things we promised that we didn't have, but we can make it right, and we're gonna try to do it for the cats who will hear us out. We'll do it, and if not, we can't do anything about that. That's okay, but we're gonna make it better next year. We're gonna. Specifically with the artists who paid and people who paid for the event, we want to make it right for them. So they'll get in for free. We'll put them on our showcases that we're going to be throwing, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
so now you understand though that how the event wasn't in good moral standing.
No, I do not.
So everything Eric
get
said, you
that.
just
I get what you're
nodded
saying.
and you said yes, but you
said
didn't understand.
Immoral? I don't understand the
That's
moral.
what he just
like,
explained to
I
you.
get.
He just
I get
explained to you.
Morally
I get-
accepting the money, knowing that you're not going to be able to provide what you told somebody, and not reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to give you what we promised originally." That was never communicated with the people that purchased the product, in a sense. And
Right.
you just agreed
So-
with that, and I would say that's not very moral.
So
in
we
a certain
can't.
sense.
So we can't do that for the same artists who we had pay for slots. Us taking the time, not even the time. Us taking what we needed to do. Us putting them on these slots that they paid for the stage, for the experience they paid for us trying to give them what they had paid for this year, even if it's next year. Like, does that still fall under immoral? I don't.
Yeah,
that's the part I don't
how-
understand.
So
I just
you
say it 'cause
thought,
I feel
so
like-
you thought that
which one is-
you thought to think the right. So you thought to make this morally correct, I'm going to promise somebody something next year that they paid for this year.
that was the solution.
That's your solution for being immoral,
the
right?
solution is doing the right thing. If you make a mistake, you clean it up. That's what the moral thing would be to
Right.
do.
So you're getting that right,
You,
and
you died by the sword, and
you
then cleaned
died
up
by the
after
sword,
that,
and now you're
instead of
trying to
cleaning
clean up
before
your
dying.
death. That's what I'm saying.
Instead of cleaning up before dying by the sword, you decided to clean up after we had to drop a documentary.
After your whole funeral.
You know what I mean? Like, but, I mean, forget what I just said after the documentary thing. Besides making this public statements now, but after you said we're gonna die by the sword, we're aware these things aren't gonna happen. Instead of cleaning up the mess right there, you let the event go on and now clean up the mess after. You know what I mean? Instead of like,
yeah, I
instead of
understand. So the dying by the
Yeah.
sword thing was more about just doing the event, seeing it through to the
Yeah.
end.
And
So,
that's what we're
like,
saying
that's
was you knew
what we
was
wanted to
seeing it
morally
through,
incorrect.
Like seeing it
You
through
knew
to the
that was
end,
morally
You knew it
incorrect.
wasn't going to be what it was, and I'm not even trying to say you. Like SotaSound knew it wasn't going to be what it was, and it just wasn't. I don't know. Like you knew the product wasn't wasn't as advertised. They were still paying full price. It just that's where the immoral.
Yeah, that's where the immoralness comes
Immoralness
from.
comes
That's
from.
what we're
And that's-
saying.
that's the whole argument
Yeah,
just on that
you
point
knew
right
what it
there.
was. You said you're gonna die by the sword. You died by the sword. So now
So
that
take it on
it's
the chin
now
and know
take
it's
it on the
immoral.
chin. Since you're already down, you might as well take it on the chin and just say, yeah, that was wrong to do. So our thing to try to make it the right thing morally was to get all these people next year to come back and promise them all this stuff.
So
like
if
that's
we're
what you
talking
did.
about what's wrong here, right? If we're talking about, okay, you guys did this thing, you promised something that you didn't have, right?
We're talking every
I'll take
aspect.
it to the not every aspect. I mean, we've talked about a couple of things that just weren't like it's not every aspect.
Right.
You're talking about the $35,000 budget. Why didn't we use it to get to the stage? We've checked a lot of boxes off. What I'm saying is we weren't doing this as a cash grab to get artists money and take advantage of them. And if we took any money and they didn't get the experience that we sold them, then that's sure we'll take that to the chin and say we fucked up on it, but it wasn't to take advantage. And I think that's what I'm kind of getting hung up on. I feel like there's this
That is what
narrative
you're
that
getting
got
hung up
spun.
on.
Well, hang on. What the narrative is getting spun is that we're trying to take advantage, and we weren't. We just made some mistakes.
Sir,
That's
it's-
it. There's a difference.
It's not about what you were trying to do.
It
It's
should
what
be, though.
happened.
It should be.
It should be.
Yeah.
And
because
I
that would
agree
make more
with you,
sense.
because
that's,
we've
now
been
you're
saying,
just painting a narrative that we're trying to take advantage of artists, and we're not.
We're not
You just
painting the
said
narrative.
that.
We're
You
not
did.
painting the narrative.
Just
We're
talking about what
We're
happened.
talking about what happened, and from what happened, it seems like you guys tried to
It
take advantage.
seems.
So that's why
seems.
I'm
That's
giving
why
you
I'm
this
sitting here.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm giving you this opportunity
To clear it up.
Exactly. I've given you this opportunity to clear it up here. Like, you need to understand that, because like, you're not clearing it up by not saying that this was immorally wrong. And it's okay. You took it on the chin. We understand that. But don't dance around the
Do you?
subject.
I don't know.
I do, but I don't like the fact that you're dancing around trying to be like, but like, to say it was a cash grab, to do all this. No, because
wasn't.
bro, it doesn't matter if you tried to or tried not to. As soon as you immorally knew that you fucked up, it was a cash grab. It doesn't matter if you thought it was or it wasn't. That term became automatically attached to you because immorally you knew you shouldn't have even started that event. And that's the thing. You took
is
those people's money. You
your
shouldn't have started the
show.
event,
It
and you
is
should have gave it
your
back to them.
rules.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now
So
you're
if you wanna
admitting
call
it's
it-
your show.
call
You died
it
by the
what
sword.
you
You,
wanna
took
call
their
it.
money, and that's okay. That's fine.
That's not okay to
That's
take
fine.
someone's money and not do
Exactly,
anything
man.
for
So
it. Hold
why are
on
you
now.
agreeing with
We're
us?
trying to make sure that next year everybody who had that bad experience
So
is
to
taken
make
care
up
of.
to make up for the immoral mistake, they promised free entry and performance for the people that paid to perform this year. That's the
That's
answer.
that's our answer.
That was
That's it.
what made the basically and the artist
It's-
every artist that paid agreed to that.
to come back next year,
Yeah.
every artist who wanted to pay for that and wanted to come back and perform next year, if they would even work with us again, wanted to do it again.
So then, what
And
if they didn't?
What if they did? What if they
What
didn't
if they
agree that
didn't
as a
want to?
If they
compensation?
didn't want to come perform and they want to come rock with us anymore, that's their prerogative. And to be real with you, if I was in a lot of those shoes, yeah, I probably would understand that completely. But if they don't want to do it,
But, yeah.
I can't.
So
what
he's
can I do about it?
acknowledging that he knew that.
We open the
Y'all
lines of
just heard that.
dialogue, right? We open the lines of dialogue. We say, yo, we had a bad experience. We know that a lot of y'all didn't get what you thought you were going to get. We're sorry for it. We want to talk to y'all. We put out Facebook statuses. We put out story posts,
Yeah.
etc. Nobody reached out. No one said anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's okay, but it does. I mean, to say that we're out here just trying to get over and not do
Yeah,
anything to
yeah.
fix it is false.
But performing
And
next
that's
year,
the
that's
problem
the
lies.
performing
Yeah.
next year was the only thing you guys could offer.
So every artist that paid, you offered that to them and they agreed to it and they were okay with that as being the
some of them didn't even reach back. You know, some of them had that experience and they said, "Oh, I don't want to do this again next year," and that's fair. That's fine.
Yeah, we
100%.
definitely. There's definitely not every artist is out here fighting to like get their money back. But like, I'm just mainly thinking about the people that had to spend just a lot of money. But if that's like, I guess like your answer to that's how we try to make amends with the artist, and I guess we could roll with that, or else we're probably just gonna keep dancing circles around this topic.
Yeah.
for-
Would it just be all right? Can I
another
just?
20
I
minutes.
feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
I just want to say this, just to all the artists who've seen the documentary and who feel like they had experience that they didn't get what they paid for. I want you to just like reach out to us, reach out to me, Brandon D. Pulphus, everywhere, if I can say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
SotaSound as well. Reach out to us. We will take care of you. Whatever you want to do, we'll like see if we can get a middle ground going. We see if we can take care of you, get you on the stage, get you on the showcase, talk about something. I mean, we gotta have a dialogue because the biggest thing, because y'all were right, like with a lot of the things in your documentary. I just don't want it out there that we don't care about artists. That's not the case. So we want to bridge that, put that, the hand out there to anybody who might want to come work with us, or if they don't, whatever. We just want to make it right. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
So why do you think that we were there to perform at your festival?
To network, to see about a festival that we haven't had out here in a while. Maybe you were interested. I don't know. I don't know why you wanted to be a part of it. I don't know.
No, I guess the interest, like, what sparked the interest to like have us be like a partner in the like.
Oh, from our end.
Yeah, like
Okay,
what,
yeah,
like
okay,
what was
so-
like? Hey, we should get Waterwave on here because.
Okay, so Waterwave, like you guys are doing something that, well, I won't say like, because we have, we've got the, what was it with the fucking bearded guy, the podcasters.
Jake's live on.
Yeah. Before that, they had a
Wiseman.
the Wiseman show. You guys are, they're doing something that not a lot of cats out here are doing anymore. I know Jake still does podcast work, but the point is, like, y'all are pretty much the guys who are doing it out here. So we wanted to reach out and see if we can bring y'all a part of this thing that we're trying to do for the locals. So that's why.
Mm-hmm. And so we were actually on board. It's good to hear that, I guess. But we were actually on board of your event, obviously, because of a lot of the things that you guys promised. We were on board because of free campsites that we were promised. Something about a cabin, free cabins. We were there for Waka Flaka. All things that didn't happen. So I want to clear that up with you, because you think that we were there because we wanted to network, do all this other stuff. No, we didn't want to drive an hour just to that wasn't the only reason why we came out there.
I didn't say that though. I didn't say it was the only reason.
That's what I just and I'm just letting you know that's not what we were out there for. I'm just letting you know what we were out there for.
I don't want all the artists to think that we didn't give a fuck about networking with them. That's why that's not the only reason. Because I did.
That is not the only reason.
No,
that is not the only reason. But yes, we were on the premise that we were going to be staying there for free, doing all these other things. That's why. Because we're being also told, like, yo, y'all got a lot of artists involved with this event. Like, can you guys explain, say that, whatever? So I'm just putting that on record.
I'm not going to lie to you. And if I was the one personally who was like, hey, I want Waterwave to be part of this thing, and I want to take care of them, so I want to say boom, boom, boom. That's the part that I would have had in writing, because, like, and Jake's, like, my guy. Like, I rock with Jake tough. So, like, hearing him talk about how he was promised the RV spots and didn't get them, he was kind of there for that reason, like that, like, kind of messed me up. Like, it wasn't right. And I wouldn't have done that, like, if I didn't have it in, like, the ink dried. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have promised something that I wasn't able to provide, because that would be, that's not how I move. So,
and that was just, like, one. I guess just like one thing, like
the cabin, the RV, right?
And that just sucked because like Jake like vouched for you in a sense, like how he said like he didn't want to talk bad about you in the documentary because he knows you do good business and you just happen to be involved with this and then it just happened to go south.
Sure.
But so all right, it seems like a credible thing because Jake knows about you. He said he got off the phone with Tony and whatnot, and that was kind of his first interaction with him. But he knew about you, so it was like it just seemed like a very credible thing. It didn't seem like too much to ask for, knowing like. From now knowing we know more than I did now, but knowing like a $35K budget, blah blah blah. But now I know it was allocated just for an artist, whatever. Just like knowing it going down, it was like, oh, like a cabin that's already built there, that's probably no one's gonna stay in. Seemed pretty reasonable to be able to have someone stay in, and parking the camper in a spot that's probably gonna be open anyways with no one there seems pretty reasonable. So it's not like
with the J cosign.
Yeah, so it's like I could see how everything looking back is like you always want something in paper, obviously looking back, but
sure,
it just didn't seem like a crazy amount of stuff to ask. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I mean, the cabins were there, the RV spots. That was another of. I'm not gonna go down that route, but that was one of the many things that they pulled away from us day of the event.
Yeah.
It's like I find it like I see why you would rock with this event if Jake was like, oh, this is dope, or Brandon's cool, like he's a good dude to take care of y'all. So I get why you would trust Jake's word on that 100%. So I feel like if I can see why you would go with Jake's word of saying I would take care of y'all, do this, this, and that. I feel like you could probably empathize with, okay, we were told a certain thing through a cosign of ours that we really trusted in, and it just didn't happen. Now, I'm not trying to say it's Jake's fault. That's obviously not even close to remotely true, but it's just like the cosigns got us in this mess, and I don't know. I'm just trying to make it right. That's why I'm here today.
River's Edge was the one that actually made the decision, like, hey, we can't, because I believe Tony called me, and it was like the day or two before the show, and he said that we can't do the campsite or whatever.
And he
a few
told
days.
Jake it was due to low ticket sales.
I heard from Jake first, and it was told because it was due to low ticket sales that he couldn't afford to allocate anymore. That was the reason why we were giving, because they didn't sell enough tickets. They couldn't afford to give us a campground site and a cabin site. So I was curious, was that the plan? Is like, hey, we're gonna sell enough tickets so we can pay out of pocket for these spots, or was that just like we can get it for free and then it just didn't happen? Like that's where, because that we were told that it didn't happen because of the low ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
So we were told. Man, I think at the time we must have been a month in a promo. We were actually back then at like 22 sales, right? Back then they told us you can have these amount of cabins, you can have this amount of RV spaces, you can have this amount of people in the green room, and like they told us this sweet ass pot that sounded real good. Again, we didn't get it in the contract. That's on us, fine. But that's That's it. That's why.
Almost sounds like you guys might need to do a surviving
Surviving River's Edge, literally.
Because it just seems like, with them promising a stage they don't have, them promising sites that they can't promise, cabins they can't promise. That's, I mean, because these are the answers.
God.
That, you know what I mean? Like,
No, that's facts. That's facts.
Because our perception, you guys are promising these things to us.
Yeah,
the whole
and you're
time these
promising
things are getting
something
promised
that's getting
to you.
promised to you.
But
like,
let me go on record to say, even though River's Edge did pull a lot of carpet from under our feet, that's not their fault why artists and media got screwed over. That's on us because we didn't have that in writing. I'm not going to say like that's cool and that's legit business, but end of the day, we'll definitely take that. Like, they dogged us and we told y'all something they told us, but end of the day, we didn't get that in writing. So we'll take that.
So you're admitting that's not cool and it's not legit business.
At River's Edge?
Yes, the work that you did with River's Edge.
The work with River's Edge, so that was a very terrible experience. I will, with full confidence, say that. And oh my God, I know we've been running for a long time, so I won't get into it. But these people were, I don't know. Sometimes it kind of felt like they almost didn't want our festival to succeed with the way that they were pulling strings, coming with last-minute changes and adjustments, and it was our name on the emails, not theirs. So it looks a lot worse on our end, not their end. So River's Edge. Shout out y'all, man. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm glad that at least you were able to be upfront about that.
Because there's definitely
really
some things that are out of your guys' control.
Yeah.
So
that was the overarching thing. And I mean, the thing is like, it's not really about like, yo, everyone wants to blame y'all, but it's like, yo, people want to know exactly how this happened. Where did it happen? Where did things start going wrong?
That's
and
why
it
we're
seems
here.
like things started going wrong when you guys just weren't clearing things up with River's Edge, and you guys weren't putting things in writing with River's Edge, regardless of ticket sales, regardless of how well the show was
multiple
going.
times that we should have had it in writing.
So we're just
not in disagreement about that at all.
No, we're just overviewing here. So we're just saying that it's good to know that SotaSound, River's Edge didn't really have their shit together. That was kind of it, but they still took money from artists, still had them sign up, still had them jump on a stage and do all this other stuff.
That wasn't the point I was
but,
trying to make.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying that it wasn't good business and y'all didn't do that correctly. So I need to put that out in the air
getting it
for
in
our
writing
audience.
was not a good play at all.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. So
yeah,
that's
there
it.
were good things
but
about
anyway,
it.
so
I think
how
it
come
was
you guys
completely
didn't spell
terrible.
names correctly on the flyer? What was going on with that? 2 different artists had reached out to us telling us that they had dropped out because you guys didn't spell their names correctly. Who's
I don't know who was
proofreading
in
this stuff and
charge
who was
of,
making that?
I wasn't in charge of making the flyers at all. Wasn't in charge of booking the artists at all. Any of the mistakes or misspells, I don't know how that went through or how that got pushed out the way it did. But yeah, that wasn't cool either. So I get it. But I don't know why that went down the way it did. No idea.
Do you know who was in charge of art? Whose job was art? Posting all that. Yeah, whose job? Because it's not your
art?
job. You keep saying it's not my
graphic
job.
art. That
Who?
wasn't my
Who?
job, but I don't know
Righteous
who.
MC,
I'm
let us
trying
know.
to
Shout
tell
out to
you
Righteous MC.
who,
I got the freaking foams on. Yes, sir. Got the foams on. I was running in the freaking
got the
rain.
foams.
Yes, sir. So
He got the foams
shout
on.
out Righteous MC because he literally spent 10 minutes on his story talking about us, and he said that y'all even tried to hire him for art. So
Yeah, Tony and
Who
Righteous
did
MC
that?
are super cool. Tony and Righteous MC are super tight. As far as who hired for art, it was either Jory or Tony. I'm not sure which of the two, but one of them did art.
So Righteous was one of your guys' artists though at some point, right?
On the bill?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
one of the artists who was designing the bill.
I think he was just
Graphic art,
tapped.
That's what he said. He said he was a graphic artist.
I know he was tapped to do some art. I don't know if he did it or not. I don't know who did the flyer. I have no idea.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you.
He said he was a bit intimidated when he saw how many names there were.
Were you a fan of the flyer? Did you like how it looked?
I'm not a fan of any flyer that has over 20 people on it.
I mean, like the border and like the logo, because that was something that was definitely a hot topic online. Was just how it just didn't look very good.
I don't know. I'm not a very
because I
like,
mean, you
when it
being an
comes
owner
to-
of a whole festival, you'd think you might know who's making your festival flyer and approving the design before it goes out. You know?
there's a few different aspects and departments to any business,
Yeah.
but it just so happens that I didn't know how that art part went down.
Yeah.
I get it as
But
an
I mean,
owner.
like, I guess
like,
maybe
yeah.
not you, but I just meant like as an owner, one of the four
Oh,
owners.
got you.
Like
So-
maybe not you directly, but like someone along the line had to at least be like, yeah, or whoever hits post on the Instagram page, unless that's, you know what I mean. Like someone had to have, someone has to.
Someone
be like,
saw
this,
that and-
like this looks good. One, does it look good, and two, is it everything spelt right? You know what I mean? Like
If
someone
they-
has to approve that.
If they looked at that flyer and saw it and were like, okay, well, this looks good, green light, boom, which is what happened because there were misspelled names on there, they shouldn't have done it.
Wow.
That's facts.
That is just
The
beautiful.
truth.
We don't even know our own team. We're taking y'all money if we don't even know
hang
our
on,
own
that's not
squad.
fair, because you
Sir,
got people doing
that
different
is
things.
fair.
There's a
four
reason
people.
why
Listen,
I'm
listen.
here doing the interview.
Yes,
and
yes.
Tony John
Yes.
isn't here.
And
Everybody
there's a reason
does
why.
different things
exactly.
for different purposes.
And I feel like they're
Why
honestly
is that hard to understand?
because we run a business that we've ran for 6 years together. We're four of us. We know everybody who's involved in this business.
Right.
You're starting a business with 4 people for 4 months. You should know everything that's going on, Brandon. If you want to be a business person,
Yeah, I
if you
mean,
want to
you
be a
guys got the
businessman,
way
you need to
Waterway
grow up.
runs your
You need to
business,
grow up
and
and
we
understand
ran it
how to
our
run a
way,
business.
And I feel like you got your mind made up. So
Nobody has their mind made up. You're just not saying anything
You do.
that's credible.
Got your mind
no,
made up.
You're not saying
I
anything
told
that's
you.
credible
I literally
here.
just told you that I don't know how the flyer got crafted.
Exactly.
And that
and so did what I just say?
So-
You Brandon, one of the owners of SotaSound, does not know his own
you
employees
ever
who
go
created art.
to a restaurant
Does that not
and
work?
talk to somebody who works at the bar and then in the kitchen and then front house with
How
different
many-
managers?
Yes,
different
many
my
layers to
girlfriend.
it.
Yes, my girlfriend. She works in the bar. She knows everyone who
Pretty
works
simple
in
concept. So I
in the
feel like
job.
you're a smart guy. You get it. It's just
Exactly.
different things that different people do. That's why I wasn't involved in the flyer process. I
It's
was
not
doing other
about being
things.
involved. You didn't even know
Well, it is
who.
because you just
didn't-
said
I'm just asking
you didn't know
if you knew who.
which I didn't know. I wasn't involved in that process.
So that's and that's it. That's it.
I don't
So,
know. Yeah.
Brandon, you as an owner of a business, we're not involved in your business to the fact of
in that
we're,
portion of it. I
Yes.
was not. Yeah.
Okay.
I said
And
would
that
that's
already.
it.
I mean,
That's
'cause-
it.
So you don't even know who made the SotaSound logo?
The logo.
Yeah.
So that one Tony outsourced. That was one of his friends. I don't know who the
So I'm
artist
guessing
name
it should
is.
be the same person because it was
The
you know what I
logo
mean?
and the
'Cause
flyer.
logo
I
and the
don't.
flyer
I don't
went
think the
kinda went
logo.
together as like a theme.
I don't
right?
think the logo and the flyer was done
I
by the
guess it's
same
not hard to
person
match a
though.
theme, but I assumed it was probably the same person.
I don't think for that specifically. I don't think that the SotaSound guy, like those
Yeah.
little Soda Man, was the same as who made that flyer.
But I guess the point of that about the misspelling was some people dropped out because they didn't feel appreciated. That was like the whole point, I guess, of bringing up that
yeah,
topic.
that
And-
makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like we'll take every apology we gotta have for it. We'll do it. If
Yeah.
people feel
Right.
like they weren't thinking,
We're
I
just
get
going-
it.
yeah, We're
Definitely.
just
Right.
going through the time
Yeah, because
stamps of the
yeah,
documentary, I guess, at that point. Yeah.
Because honestly, like that's my whole point. Is not even just the people feeling bad. We know that. We
Yeah.
know that that's true. We know that that's real. We know that
Right.
Sauce went through all that. But the thing to me is that as a business person, you can say that you don't even know who your art person was. You don't even know who helped work on a project.
Yeah, that
it's
part
just
wasn't
crazy
a part of my
if it's-
responsibilities. I
Okay,
didn't have to do
and that's
that.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
fine. That is
and
okay.
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But everyone just needs to know out of the 4 people, like there was only like one person who was in charge, I guess, of putting their name on there and getting their name wrong.
On the
you're
art?
you're away from that because you're the owner
not
who it didn't
Brandon's
really
fault.
matter to you. It didn't matter to Brandon. It's good. It's not Brandon's fault. So anyway, we'll get on next with did you guys advertise? You guys told people 500 to 1,000 people would be there, correct?
Correct.
Is that not a false promise?
Well, it rained and we didn't have 500. So because it didn't rain, I mean, yeah, I
So,
guess that would.
I guess
technically be
going into
false,
the
right.
rain.
But we were still on pace.
Yeah,
to get
did-
500.
Yeah. Did you guys? How long did you guys know about the rain? Did you guys not know that it was gonna rain prior to the day?
So the forecast said that it might rain, and the only way we could have canceled that festival and I don't know, I guess maybe put it on at a different date would have been if we had paid a certain amount of money for this. It's like a festival rain insurance type of thing.
yeah.
But, yeah, we did. We checked the forecast. Said it might have rained. Then it rained 5 times that day.
And did you guys take any steps before the concert to like making sure that there was ways that you guys could work around the rain?
Work around the rain, like maybe you get a giant Metrodome built in or something
Yeah,
like that. to
something
cover
like
the-
that. Did you
What
try?
we did was we got ponchos, we got some tent covers, we put the word out. I mean, I don't know, what can you really do for rain? You know, I don't know. We did talk to the sound guys and said, oh, well, just in case it does rain, because we checked the forecast, looks like it might come down.
Mm-hmm.
Anything y'all can do to prep us for outdoor? And they're like, well, at this point, not really. So I don't know. I mean,
Was there ever like a time when like the show was like 4 hours pushed back or whatever that you guys were like, maybe we just call it, or like what was, because I like what was the main motive of squeezing everyone on that stage before the sound ordinance? You know what I mean? Like because at some point I was talking to Tony and we were told, oh, there's like a sound ordinance that you can't even perform past a certain time. So I'm like, oh, well, my artist is supposed to go on past that time, so like they can't even perform anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where was like the level of like, hey, we can't fit everyone on this, maybe we just botch it or whatnot, but is it we're just the dying by the sword thing? Like we're just gonna go with it, we're gonna finish it out, try to get everyone on stage that paid to perform?
Yeah.
Like where was the cutoff of like, because it was okay that we didn't get to perform on the main stage, you know what I mean? Like
pay, so you was cool with it type shit.
yeah, like we didn't pay, we didn't have any, like, you know, whatever, but like since Brizzy paid $1,000, you had to squeeze them on there before they shut you down, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So like it was okay that we weren't able to get on there in time. We were gonna have to go on the mini stage. It was okay that we had to do that, but they made sure, you know, Brizzy, was that like a thing? Like we have to make sure everyone that paid gets what they paid for. They get to perform, so that it's clear in the contract you paid to perform and you got to perform. Because if Brizzy set time, you know, if he didn't get to perform because of the sound ordinance, then technically he would have got his money back in a sense if he didn't get to perform, if that's what he paid for? Was like that a motive, like let's get him on stage before the sound ordinance?
So even if an artist had paid for a slot, hypothetically, and I'm not talking about Brizzy specifically by any means, but
Because he was just the last one to go. That's why I brought it up.
Right. So we did, when we knew we had to cut a lot of the slots, we wanted to make sure we can get as many people who paid for slots on stage as possible. As far as the noise ordinance thing, they told us, okay, we can go till 11-ish, and we'll be switching it to like acoustic after that, so we could jam till 2 a.m., which is another reason why the roster was so big. But all that to say, once we found out that we were getting cut a little earlier, we did try to get as many of the artists who paid for their opportunity on stage as possible.
But so acoustic, does that mean like?
So that would be just like, you know,
Guitar?
just
Straight
jamming out
guitar?
on, yeah.
Because what I'm wondering, because
without
we
the
were supposed to
speakers.
perform past that time, and none of my artists play the guitar or perform without speakers, and that was never committed. Like if I would have basically, you know, if I didn't tell Tracy and Cumo to not come because of the circumstances that there's no this and no that, no stage, because at the end of the day you're not gonna be able to get like, so if they would have came out there and still did it, they wouldn't have been able to perform in the way that we were supposed to. You know what I mean? Even
Right.
regardless of the stage being a stage or not, like you just wouldn't have been able to play their music.
So if they had come and they were trying to perform at the slot and we were telling them, okay, it's acoustic hour, so we can still do it or whatever.
Yeah,
we'll do.
acoustic out, I've never heard that until right now. Like I didn't know that
You
acoustic.
never heard of
No, I mean I was never, like we never even were told like we were told that there's a sound ordinance.
Oh, that part
and
of it.
and we're gonna cut off, but like it was never like, hey, like just so you know at 11, like because I think originally we were even supposed to go, maybe Trace and Kim were supposed to go on at like 10:30, maybe right before.
Yeah.
But as soon as that rain delay happened, obviously we're going past 11, and it was never told once to us from 10 a.m. till 10:30, I think, that hey, there's a sound ordinance at 11. Like you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
We didn't find out until Kelvino started getting a set ready because he was gonna do the whole time that Trace and Cumo weren't gonna come out anymore. And then he found out from Brizzy or someone that was like, hey, there's a sound ordinance at 11 that you can't perform anymore. So we weren't even told that until like 10:30. That hey, you aren't gonna be able to perform with speakers. And that's when we were like, all right, we're not even gonna do our set. That's just. Like that was like the last cherry on top of us being like, we got to get the fuck out of here. You know
No,
what I mean?
I get that, definitely. So with the ordinance such, they told us that we can go past 11. And they didn't mention necessarily not cutting the speakers at all. They just said, we'll just have to do quieter sets, which again, all comes back down to, okay, well, if you're telling us we can perform outside and it has to be done by a certain time, another thing that should have been in writing. So yeah, definitely see the frustration there. That makes sense. Yeah.
So is it like
But-
you guys knew then that there was a sound ordinance and you guys
We knew that there was an ordinance, but we didn't know that they would cut like all the music at 11. They said, "Oh, all right, you guys can jam until 2." And we're like, "Oh, all right, bet we'll do it till 2 then." And then when it actually came time to do it, which might have had something to do with the rain delay and defense to River's Edge. But once it was time to do it, then they were like, all right, well, actually, we can't do that shit no more.
So the day of the show,
night of the show,
they said we had to cut it off at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Like the same day.
Yep. So we were there already. We had everything built out. We had an itinerary built out for set times and such.
Yeah.
And then once the rain hit, obviously that pushed some stuff back. But even then, we were still like, all right, cool. Well, we can still go till 2.
Performances be done by 11. Is that what you're trying to say?
No. Just for like the loud sets, just till 11.
So you're saying,
and then they can still perform with speakers, but like on a quieter like level.
So the people that are supposed to that are paying $1,000 to perform at these late slots would have to perform on the quiet stages.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, wow. And if that wasn't
the people that are paying the most money have to pay on the play and perform on the quietest stage available.
If they choose to pay. Was that like, I guess I don't know if anyone paid for that $2,000 like, midnight slot or whatever, but like if someone did, was that agreed, or would that been said in the thing, like, hey, by the way, at 11 o'clock we have to turn your mic down by 50%? Oh, absolutely, yes, 100%.
Was that in Brizzy's contract?
If we sold a slot and told them, are you going to come in here, you're going to do your thing, and we're going to have you go in the quiet hour or whatever, there was still going to be speakers involved. So I mean, I guess what would you even say in that contract? Like, you're going to have to perform quiet at a certain decibel?
Well, I just don't. I guess, and this even comes back to almost like, I guess you didn't know about the cutoff thing so bad, but like, I just usually at the end of the show where you're charging more, like you would think if you're paying more money, you're getting a better experience, you're getting a better opportunity than you would if you paid less money, right? So if you're paying $1,000 to perform at the end of the show, but whole time the end of the show is where we got to cut the music quieter, I don't see. That just seems kind of weird to me.
I think that's another
so
thing.
So what I would say to that is, to be real with you, if everything didn't happen with the rain and we just got to go as usual, and the very last set was, let's say, 11:30, right? Plan would be to just be like, hey, honestly, sorry, River's Edge, we're going to go for it anyways and just do our thing. And then if they didn't like us after that, at that point, they had already kind of made it clear that they don't want to work with us in the future because of all the things that they pulled under the rug. So that's would have been that. We'd have just had to play the sound loud and been like, all right, we assholes, and then they can't let us come back next year to River's Edge.
Because I don't remember exactly. Do you remember exactly what the last time slot that was available for sale on the email
late.
for Lance?
They were late. They were going like 12 a.m. They were going, like into those.
One of the artists that we had a friend that was interested in performing, he reached out. They sent him the price sheet. Said you can pay this to perform if you want to perform. Mm-hmm. So we that was the first time we seen the price sheet that was talked about and shown in the documentary. And I just don't remember the latest time, but like, I don't know, just the idea of like selling $1,000 plus slot time at midnight, advertising it as you're like the last, one of the last guys to go on. It's going to be huge, but the whole time you're cutting them. There's a sound ordinance, and you got to be quiet during your set. Like, that just seems like it's almost like the price should be skyrocket. That 11 o'clock or that 10:30 slot should be the $2,000, and that 12 o'clock slot should go back down to $200. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like morally weird as well. Kind of in that weird line of like you're selling this 12 o'clock time that sounds amazing, but you have to cut the music quieter. You didn't know you had to cut it completely off, but you knew it had to be quieter. Correct?
So even then, we were trying to just, like I said, we were trying to run that through and play late, play loud, and just kind of be like, yo, I know y'all said 11's the sound quiet time or whatever, but we're gonna just do it.
You were trying to sell a $2,000 slot, banking on breaking the rules.
Well, you didn't have to buy the $2,000
but that's what you were putting it up for sale for.
It was for sale. Yeah,
right.
100%.
And then so if it sold, that was what you were gonna do, right?
What?
If the $2,000 slot sold, your thing was, or whatever the number was, the $2,000 slot sold, you were still gonna go past their curfew, right, and just play the music loud.
Planning on breaking the rules?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Like that's what you were banking on, like River's Edge, basically not just like pulling a plug and be like, "Fuck y'all," like we made this rule, like, you know what I mean, like, or like
so
like when we do club events, it ends at 2. The lights come on, boom, 2 o'clock. We can't go past that. They'll pull the mics.
Venues, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like maybe River's Edge, maybe there's not a representative there that's like going to be hounding you at 11:01. But so you're fully okay with selling the most expensive slot at a time that they can't even perform their music loud.
Well, that's not what we're okay with.
But that's what you advertised, and you knew that.
So with that, with the guys we hired for the private sound, we were like, all right, these guys are working for us. We tell them to cut the sound. It's time to cut the sound. And as far as the venues owners go, we figured we would deal with it when that came up. So as far as selling that slot for $2,000, like, I get that can be like, oh, that's fucked up. They're trying to sell this at midnight, and he might not get to do this or get to do that. It's like, well, that's specifically out with Brizzy, because he was one of those cats who paid, was it $1,000 for his slot, I believe it was. Like, he was one of those cats who wanted to make sure got to get on that stage for the next event that we do. So, yeah, I get that. I'll take that one to the chin. That's fairly fair.
Yeah, I just because like I understand pay to perform. There's no like people can agree to pay to perform in a sense of like, you know, if that's the only agreement, if there's not like talks of you're gonna get this, get that.
Yeah.
But like I guess like if you're charging, you know, 200, I seen it was like $200 for the noon slot. You know what I mean? You know, $250 for the 2 o'clock, whatever it may be. But then like people when they see that midnight slot, they're assuming the biggest, best time to go on. But in reality, this is probably one of the worst times to go on because your music is going to be quiet. People aren't going to be able to be jamming because it's quiet. And I guess that's mainly my point, is you knew it was going to be like a time where it was going to be tuned down and you were charging the most for that time because it sounded sweet on paper.
Sure. So I would say that going forward, I would try to figure out what the best wording to be would say, all right, if you want to perform at the last slot, here's how much you're charging. And if there's some sort of noise ordinance or something like that, or something that they should be privy to, yeah, that's something that we should definitely include.
So I guess
100%.
What was the time frame that you knew that the music had to at least be quieter at 11? When did you know that?
I'm not going to lie. That day, there was a lot of things that they pulled from under the carpet, and I don't remember which, at one point in the festival, they said that the noise ordinance was 11, but we knew about that. We knew about the noise ordinance. We didn't know we weren't going to be able to jam till 2.
When did you know that there was a noise ordinance at all? Like to where you at least had to turn the speakers down? Like at what time? What on the time frame of organizing the show?
So that would have been, well, I tell you this, it was definitely before that list went out, 100%.
Before the flyer was dropped?
So if you want to make an argument that, okay, these guys put this for sale or this whatever price for sale at this time, yeah, like I could see why you'd have a problem with that. That makes perfect sense. That's not illogical at all. So fair enough.
Yeah, so basically advertising huge stage, knowing you have to turn the music down, finding out there's no stage, but still sending out emails charging $2,000 for a slot with a picture of a huge stage on your Instagram. Can you see how that might
again
look a little messed up?
I'm here because that's how it looks, and there's reasons for it, which I hope would clear up anything with some artists who might think that they got scammed out because that wasn't what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thankful that there wasn't
bad
like
either way.
I guess I'm just like it's very good that like I guess it doesn't seem like someone purchased that $2,000 spot because Brizzy was the last one to go on that big stage. So like that was like you got the last guy in there that paid for the latest slot that was paid for.
Sure.
So you reached your agreement with him, and whatnot. But it just seemed kind of weird that if there's a sound ordinance at 11 and you knew about it and to be selling a time slot past that time for the most amount of money just seems kind of like
probably should have put that out there, right?
Or it just should have been like
next year,
like a $500 slot. We'll do it. Why is the midnight slot cheaper than the 11 o'clock slot? Oh, because it's you have to perform and you have to whisper on stage or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and defend that one to my at that point. I mean, like that's something we can make better for next time we do it. I hear you. That's
I guess a side note, who do you know who came up with like the price sheet? Like who like decided how much each spot was worth?
Yeah, so that would have been Jory and Tony for that one.
And like, do you know like what was taken into consideration? Be like, oh, this slot is worth 1,000, and this slot is worth 500. This slot's worth 250. Like, you know, like
I know some of them. I wasn't in on that conversation when they came up with the prices, but I know some of it was based on this is where prime time might be. This is this person's first time, so maybe they want to be in an earlier set and they want to pay 200 instead of 1,000 for it. Like there were things like that, but that's another one that's kind of out of my wheelhouse too, because I wasn't really in on. Yeah,
because I'd be curious if they would think prime time would be when you have to make the speakers quiet. That's what I would be curious if they think that's technically prime time.
Yeah.
So I do know that midnight joint that they were permissioning the slot, like that wasn't the prime time slot. I don't know when it was.
It was the most expensive one. That was just the only thing. Like the later it got, the more expensive it got, which, in hindsight, like it got even to be a worse issue because of the rain. But I guess that was just what I was just curious if you knew.
And you know, with Jory,
the process behind how much everything costed.
Sure. And with Jory, this is the first time she had worked on a major music event. So in her eyes, she's probably used to going to these things as like a fan. So she's like, oh, this is the very last lot. This must be the best one to do. Yeah. And at that point, like, yeah, I definitely would have liked to have a convo with her and say, yo, as an artist, I can tell you, 12, that's probably not the one to do. But that
Was
wasn't
there-
my will.
Yeah.
And was there any perks for like paying to perform besides the opportunity to perform? Like like if you buy like a certain package when you go to a festival, you may get like a jawstring bag or a T-shirt. Like, was there like, hey, you pay $1,000 to perform, and we'll make sure that you can get 10 people in for free, or you pay $1,000 to perform, and we got you on free food the whole time you're here. Like, was there any other perk besides just you get to perform?
So the RV was for everybody. So even that wasn't even like, or the green room, that wasn't even specifically like, oh, if you paid, you get access to the green room, because everybody had access to that. As far as like a T-shirt package or free
not
drinks
like
or
like
like a
something
comp,
like that?
no, I get that. Definitely, yeah, I don't believe that there was anything like that. In fact, I'm like 90% sure there wasn't like if you pay for this slot, here's a T-shirt, here's a mug, here's a cup, whoop-de-whoop. So yeah.
What made you charge people, and what made you not charge people?
We didn't charge anyone who didn't want a certain slot. They chose to do it, and the ones who didn't charge, or the ones who like got to perform for free, maybe there were people that Tony or Jory or I had seen live, was like, oh, this person's like, I've seen them around, something like, they're probably like Minneapolis Drew is a great example. I've seen him perform a bunch of times. He's a guy who I knows his way around the stage, so like, we just asked him to be a part of it, whoop-de-whoop. As far as the other artists, if anybody expressed interest, and then we would send out that slot sheet with, oh, they're charging this much for this. If they made that decision to pay for it, that's why they did it.
But do you think people paid because of groups like us?
No, but that's an opinion. So
Okay.
maybe.
I have another question
guess.
too. Someone was going very hard trying to bash us in the comments, saying that we should be held accountable for the artists that spent money and had a bad experience.
One of us?
No. Someone was in the
Us.
comments, and it was but I should say his name. I looked him up, and the only person he was connected to was Tony. But fuck his name. You don't need to know mine. But basically, he said Waterwave needs to be held accountable for their partaking in this event. Do you think we need to be held accountable for any artist that paid a dollar amount? Because some like Obi, for example, he said he came here to meet people like us. Like
Absolutely not. You guys had nothing to
And that's
do
what-
with this, and I didn't. Yeah, I didn't say that.
Because technically our brand was on the flyer as a sponsor, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like our impression, which is the reason why you said you booked us, is because we do good things, we have a good crowd. So it's like there's like this thing of like it's kind of like selling the name, image, likeness, which we agreed to in exchange for said things that we talked about earlier in this podcast. But yeah, people are saying basically because we were promoting this event that we should be held accountable for the same things that we're saying like went wrong.
So that guy in the comment section was saying you guys need to be held accountable for maybe things that.
Basically
do you
for-
have the comment or not? You don't have. If you don't have it, no big deal.
No,
at all.
basically it's just because like if I'm saying like, hey, this artist paid $1,000 to perform and he didn't get what he paid for, he's like, oh, well, the reason why he paid $1,000 is because you guys were making it seem like this was going to be a glorious event as well.
Right, and that's and we're taking ownership in the fact
That
that
we're
Obi
co-signing this event,
and
you know what I mean?
Brizzy did say that they were coming to this event because they saw some of the artists that we worked with are on the lineup. So like I'm saying that yes, there are artists that did come there because of us. I'm not saying that it is our fault because we also had a whole different idea to what was going to be happening and going on. So I'm just to reiterate, do you think that artists paid to be on this lineup because of groups like us?
It's possible, maybe.
Okay. Because you just said no the
asking
first
me-
time I asked. So
You
now
asked
you're
me.
saying it's possible.
You asked two different questions before. You asked me,
I
did
just read
artists?
the
Hang
same-
on. You just asked me, hey, did any of these artists? Do you think that they came and bought slots because they saw Waterwave, right? So I don't know if that's solely the reason. I mean, maybe, sure. That you guys are on there, you're on the flyer. Maybe they bought it because of that art. Maybe they bought it because their friends going. Maybe they bought it because I don't know. There's a bunch of reasons that I can't really speak on. That's not a fair question to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's.
But
I mean,
I guess you don't think that we like he basically said we owe the people an apology that got scammed in a sense in this event.
The guy said you guys
We
owe an apology.
Owe an apology.
Yeah.
Do you
People
think
got
that?
scammed?
Do you think
No.
that we were a prime factor in I guess do we owe people an apology? That's like do you think that
Yeah,
we
he
were in
already-
the shoes?
yeah, he already
Absolutely.
said no.
But
No,
I do.
not
But
at all.
and there is some truth to people did definitely go there because they wanted to see us. It was documented in our documentary that they said that
it's said
like
by the
not that every
artists.
I would not put it out there that every artist that gave you $1 was there, but there was a handful that some that said I know Waterway puts on a good show, I know Taste Supreme puts on a good show, Nico Slim, like that's documented in our documentary that people are saying that they know these people put on good shows. So it's like Yeah, basically he just said like we pay, did they pay because of people like us? Not even just us, but people like us. Literally. Like, what was their motive to pay to perform? You know what I mean?
don't think you guys owe an apology for that at all. No. And if it's about that comment, but that was never in question to me anyways. If some guy said that in the comment section,
the Muffin Man.
Shout out to Muffin Man. Well, actually, that's probably not the right thing to do on this podcast. But
it was spelled weird, like MAYG. And let him know. Reply in the comment what you think he thought.
I don't know. If he said that, that wasn't like an extension of, I don't know, something that one of us said. So like, if people say that, people say that.
I thought it was a burner account at first. I'm like, whose name is Muffin
Man? But we are clear though. Waterwave shouldn't have any fault though.
Well, yeah, never a question.
And so from the first time I asked if people paid because of groups like us, you said no. The second time I asked, you said probably. So I just want to ask this one more time.
Maybe.
Do you think people paid because of groups like us?
That everybody paid because
I didn't
of you
say
guys?
Everybody. I said people. That's in general. That could be one person or 10 people.
Maybe. I mean,
okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Brandon, for re-answering the question. That's it, man. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Sure, man.
So, how
What's
much?
The next topic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting late, bro.
It's getting late, but these are the questions people want to know, bro. You did this. This is your event. You guys did this, so you can't just dance around, be so upset, be so annoyed about something that you did. It's okay.
I just don't understand the...
We just want clarity.
You know, me too, bro.
We want clarity. What do you want clarity from, Brandon?
All right, so it sounded like you were asking, do I think Waterwave was responsible for the slots being sold earlier? And that's not the case at all.
No.
I mean, yeah, they saw your name on there. Maybe somebody did. Maybe they didn't. You have no way of saying who did it because they saw Waterwave.
Eric just explained to you.
It's possible.
Eric just explained to you, but did he not just explain to you why we would have reason to believe that other artists did pay to be on this lineup because of us? Did he not just say that?
What are you getting at, bro?
I just told you how like it's crazy because people are going to watch this interview and they're going to see you literally answer his questions because for some reason you can understand what Eric is saying. But when I just said, do you think that people paid to be part of your event because of groups like ours? You danced around the question. You denied me the first time. You said probably the second time. And now you're sitting here just saying probably, maybe, no. Is it everyone? No. Is it this? No. And I'm just telling you it's a yes or no question. You said no the first time. You reneged the second time. Say your real answer this time.
So you're asking me if I think Waterwave was the reason people bought slots, right?
Some people bought slots. Yes, we could say that.
Maybe.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
I reneged.
Maybe.
I say
it's
maybe.
Yes or no.
Maybe they bought them.
He doesn't know.
You don't know either.
I am telling you that I do know. Brizzy told me and Obi told me. Those are two people that told me.
Because they saw Waterwave. Like maybe they did. Maybe they said it. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. I have no way of checking that metric.
Yeah. Why would you put our logo on the flyer then?
Our name.
Our name. Yeah. Waterwave. Why would you put that on the flyer?
Did Tony give you all a free ticket to come cover it at all, or did you guys
free ticket to cover it? No.
I'm asking if he asked you guys to be part of it, and that's why you guys didn't have to pay for the slot, right? I mean, like he wanted you guys to be there because you guys,
we were supposed to sponsor the beer pong tournament, but then it just never happened. That was like our role. It was supposed to be the Waterway beer pong tournament. That was our sponsor role, and that just went up.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot that just wasn't known, didn't know. But
yeah.
Did you at least did you guys have the vendors pay to be there? Were they paying to be there?
The vendors?
Yeah.
Vendor slots were 100 per vendor.
Jesus Christ. Damn. I didn't even know that. I kind of was like, damn.
It's pretty sometimes, most times even, it's very typical for vendors to pay for slots to sell things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what
How'd you guys advertise it to the vendors? Did you guys say the same 500 to 1,000? Yo,
we
we're
said
gonna have
that
a headliner.
we've got this event going on July 23rd. We're going to have music. We're going to have this, and that. If you'd like to come and host, as long as you've got your seller's license, you can come vend with us.
No numbers of amount of people were involved?
That one would have to be for Jory. I'm not sure if she put that in the email at all. But
do you know if she said anything about the headliners to them or being headliners potentially?
I know she didn't tell vendors Waka Flaka was gonna be there.
Okay.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Nah, she didn't.
Okay. I guess like that's good. I didn't know that they were gonna pay that much to be there, but did you guys advertise to like
What
like
vendors were gonna be there?
yeah,
I
like
didn't know
Who
that.
else?
Like,
yeah.
well, like no, I just mean like they're paying $100 to vend obviously to sell because they're gonna make money. But I guess I just didn't see much advertising of what vendors were gonna be there. You just showed up and I seen like which ones were.
So
there.
I know we've posted. I know we made story posts about the vendors and
Yeah.
such. Had I been in charge of art, as you so eloquently put it earlier, I would have put the vendors on there.
Oh,
But they weren't on the flyers. So,
Mm.
but there were story posts. There were actually a lot of the in the videos that I talked about earlier that didn't make the cut. They also had a lot of shouts there as well.
vendor info.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess what happened after Brizzy set? So he kind of gave us the whole rundown of the whole debacle that was his 10-minute set, but like, cause technically 10 minutes, that's not part of his contract. What happened when, as soon as the sound went off, did more people start performing on that other stage, or how did like the rest of the night
So
pertain?
after that happened, we moved to that the acoustic stage, we'll call it. After that, went to the smaller stage. That point, we sort of switched to, so we had our DJ Hobbs hold some stuff down with the music, and I even did a little hosting and did a little bit of rapping too, while there was no speakers on or anything like that, but we kind of did like a small little intimate mini set, if you will.
And so you were technically like the last one to go then?
I mean, like technically, sure.
Yeah. So
uh,
it was just Brizzy, then you?
Well, I didn't have a slot. I was just had the microphone. And I was doing some hosting.
Yeah,
while
but
John
no
was
one
able to
no
take
one
a
like
break.
performed after Brizzy.
No. I don't think it's the DJ, but I don't.
Why was that? Because I know there were some artists that
Yeah.
were there that didn't perform yet. Did they just not want to because of the circumstances, or?
Because of the circumstances, crowd was thinning out. It was late. Been a long day. People were pissed off, rightly so. 1,000 different reasons. I don't know. I couldn't tell you why, but yeah, I was the last one who was on the smaller stage, other than the DJ, and that was just to like. They cut all the sound, cut everything, cut all the speakers, and I'm like, all right, we're trying to, make something happen, and I spat like a little verse. It wasn't like a set or a song or anything, but that was it. It was just something to.
So
do.
after Brizzy, it was just basically no speaker, just mic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Dang. So
Dang.
are you if people plan not to work with you guys again, I know you touched a little bit on it.
Sure.
And you did say that you guys are trying to give them the opportunity. If they don't want that opportunity, if they just want some other type of compensation, is there no other option but performing next year?
If they want compensation, so you're asking if they want to not work with us, but they do feel slighted still. Is there something we can? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Is there something else that they
that's
can
kind of
work
what I
out?
wanted to talk to everybody about, because if I can have a dialogue with on an individual basis, again, Brandon D. Pulphus, come tap in with me. I'll talk to anybody. We could probably figure something out. If you don't want to work with us and you like, oh, I feel like I want this or I want that. Like we could figure something out. I just can't be on here and promise anything because A, I got to talk to my partners about it. B, I don't know what the conversation looks like.
Okay. So, I mean, it seems like we kind of got most of our concerns and questions upon us here. Was there really anything else that you had to say about the documentary? Was there anything that we had not touched on, that we had said wrong? Is like exactly apart
Checking
from
notes right now.
apart from like clearing the name and saying what you need to say, what exactly is there else to add on?
Honestly, after chatting with y'all don't really seem like bad guys or nothing like that. I would say I couldn't say anything really wrong. I feel like we checked every box, everything I had in my notes and that I wanted to clear up, we cleared up. I would say documentary, I'm thinking, all right, you would want to talk to the guys you're talking about first, but if y'all were blocked at that time, obviously that wouldn't be an option, and I don't think we're like connected individual, so you might not have seen my post or anything, but I would urge that, specifically with the Minnesota local scene, we just got to have more dialogues. We don't got to agree. We don't got to be like super tight or nothing like that, but we just got to talk about it, because we're not trying to, shit on artists, take advantage of artists. If that's what happened by, extension of us not getting our T's dotted and our I's crossed, flip those around, then I get it. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think a main motive for like it was I tried to make it as clear as possible in every post I made that this was never to directly bash you, Tony, Jody, whoever else, like John. Like it was never to be like never work with these people ever again. I thought that was pretty clear in the thing to be like, hey, we're not like it was more of to spread awareness. Like, hey, things like this happen. Make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into before you just pay a lump sum of money for something.
I get that. I think for me personally, I was like, I heard like, oh, Brandon Pulphus. Then I heard the word scammer, and it's like, that's like, well, at that point it does feel personal. But again, after sitting down and chatting, it's like, all right, well, I more see than I did before how it wasn't like personal attacks on all of us, and maybe more so how you don't agree with how a brand runs business, which is fair. I understand, but yeah.
And I'm just curious because you just said that there wasn't anything false, but in your post you said that some stuff we said was false.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, if that's what, I thought we checked those.
Question.
So so the $35,000 budget that we had was everybody's like, oh, you guys got $35,000.
Okay, so that was just for an artist.
That was just for the artist.
Yeah, I just wanted because you publicly said that we said false stuff, and we would love to. We want to make sure that if there's anything that we said false in the documentary that. It got. I'm sure you said it got answered today, so I just want to shed light on what you thought.
Forcing artists to pay to play was something that was said inside of the documentary, and we didn't force anyone to do anything. They were all consensual contracts that people signed, with full consent. So that was one thing that was false that I wanted to touch on, and we covered that. And that felt like more y'all needed to know how that came about before we got down to that route. So that was one falsity I wanted to clear up.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that, yes, we did not handcuff their hands and grab them and tell them, yo, let's sign this paper. But the thing is some people thought their only option to come see some of the Water Wave affiliated artists, some of the other people that are around here was to that's
what our guy was
that's what we
if that's what they thought, I'm super sorry about it
because we told our guy to reach out to Tony to perform, and he was hit with a direct this is how much it costs to perform. It wasn't like let me check you out. What's your music links? It was just, this is how much it costs.
There was no show up at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., all that other stuff.
What if we talk about Lil Bird saying, what did he say? Like, I said there was 23 tickets sold, and I know I sold 13 or whatever. It's like, even at the point that was said, I'm like, we've had 173 pre-sales. I mean, 23, that's false, and y'all didn't say it, but you put it out there into the world. And that's not true.
That's what he said. That is what Bird himself said. That you guys told him. So he
said it on your platform.
On our platform, because we interviewed him because you guys took $500 from him. So like you do see this like this track of why people would be saying maybe some things that even if they weren't accurate is what you're saying. But I'm letting you know that people were upset because y'all grabbed their money. You did that.
People were upset.
You did that. You know that.
Grab, but like I said, I just came to do it because I wanted to reach out to all the artists and let them know we can talk about it. We wanted to like take it to anything that we fucked up on as far as, making promises that we couldn't deliver on. We wanted to make sure that we put it out there that you can reach out to us, you can talk to us, and we're going to try to take care of you in whatever way we got to do it. So let's just have a chat about it. And if you don't want to work with us, fine.
Those were the only things that you seen that you wanted to make sure that got cleared up for that we said was false. So the Brizzy thing, or not Brizzy, Bird so no one told them that they only sold 23 tickets or whatever. That's not true.
Also I don't know I have no idea who we talked to. I don't know.
So you don't know if that's true or not.
I know we sold more than 23 tickets.
But you don't know if that conversation was
true. Who knows
true.
what time they had that conversation in the timeline of he paid $500 to perform the day the flyer was dropped, and then a week later he said, "Oh, we've only sold 23 tickets," and I don't know the timeline.
He wouldn't even have that information, to be honest. I mean, none of us would talk with how many pre-sales we had to the artist that we just wouldn't do. We didn't do it and didn't do it. He wouldn't have that information. And I'm pretty sure Bird was the one who he had to walk off the stage because he was, he couldn't finish his set because he had a little too much to drink. And we walked him off. Like, I'm not saying, like, no knock on Buddy or nothing, but I'm just saying, like, come on, like, 23 tickets, like, he wouldn't have information. He wouldn't have access to that information. So
if he never could have asked like how many tickets have sold, and that he wouldn't have been able to been told.
If he'd have asked somebody like how many have y'all sold, like one of the owners would have not told them.
But how do you know that? You said you didn't even know who was doing the art. So how do you know everything that the other owners are saying?
Well, the art might not have been one thing that we discussed, but as far as like the ticket sales and talking about like how much we have like sold. Like, we definitely had a conversation about
saying,
that. So
how
that's
can
completely
I'm
different.
asking,
It's not the
though,
same thing at all.
I'm asking you, how can you assure that nobody else in your team actually talked to Brizzy about prices Bird when you didn't even know who was doing art in your group? How can you confirm that?
I tell you, conversations
because y'all had
that
a meeting.
You're not letting me answer your question.
Because
bro.
you had a meeting. I'm letting you say that.
Right.
But
So the reason why I knew about the ticket sales and us talking about them is because me, Tony, Jory, and John had a convo about, yo, we don't want people out here knowing like about the ticket sales. We don't want false narratives getting spread out. We don't want none of that. The art was a whole different thing. These are apples and steaks. It's not related at all. That's why I didn't know about the art and didn't know about the ticket sales. Does that make sense?
So you didn't.
But you did know about the ticket sales. You did.
Yeah.
I know.
knew,
You just said.
yeah.
I didn't want to let you mess
But
that
you
one
said
up
you
for the
didn't-
record.
I won't.
I guess, yeah. You said you didn't want to tell people about ticket sales, but I guess you did tell people projections of ticket sales, right? Brizzy saying there'd be 500 to 1,000. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
He was told that there'd be 500 to 1,000.
We did say that, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that
It's
contradicts.
a little different
So-
that
than the actual
contradicts.
sales that
someone-
we
But
had
that
made.
contradicts
If we're saying
what
that
you
we're
just said,
projecting
right?
500 to 1,000 people, if we're projecting 500 to 1,000,
Versus
it's a
just saying
projection.
how many have already been sold.
If I'd have said, yo, hey, man, sold 500 to 1,000, that's different than saying we're projecting 5 to 100. I mean, we're going to have 500 to 1,000 is what we're going for. I mean, we didn't, obviously. The rain happened. 1,000 things happened. We didn't have 500 to 1,000.
But
Which,
is it
again,
potentially, I guess, I'm basically just trying to talk for Bird's sake at this point.
Sure.
Just so maybe because like he was the one that told us that he was told there was 23 people and he sold however many tickets. But so like you're saying there's no chance that anybody told Bird that there was 23 tickets sold.
Mhm.
That's 100%. There's no way anyone told him that.
nobody would have. We had a conversation
about
this.
not talking about ticket sales, right?
Why would we talk? Like, no, sorry. No, to answer your question, there's
So
no,
basically,
I
Lil
wouldn't
Bird
have-
conversation.
Lil Bird just pulled that out of his ass.
I don't know. I don't know where he heard it from.
But
He
there's-
didn't hear from us. So
But there's
probably.
talks about ticket projections though. We can do that. Was that talked about within
So,
your
so
group?
you can talk
guys
about
can
how many you might sell, but not
not how many
have been
you've sold.
That's what we did.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I could tell tell people, hey, there's gonna be 500. There might be 500 to 1,000 people here. Whole time there's only 20 tickets sold, but I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm gonna just tell you this what might happen, and I'm gonna sell it to you.
I mean, we're planning for 500 to 1,000. Got to 273. We came short. It's not 500. So that's fair. Sure.
Do you know maybe the timeline of when you told Brizzy there would be 500 to 1,000? How many tickets were sold at that time, or is that
Mm-mm.
probably not? You might not
That's-
be able to know that
Not off top. No.
because I could see like. If you had 200 pre-sale and you got 3 weeks to go, yeah, damn, there might be 500 to 1,000 people here. But you're saying the final count was only 273, so I could
at
see
2 p.m.
But that's okay.
But like, how many more people showed up after 2 p.m.?
That's when the rain started happening. So it was
So
kind of like
basically,
would have been
final
around
count
there.
maybe 300.
Let's say 3.
So
Let's
maybe
say-
300
let's say
max.
3 on the final.
If you could
Yeah.
get 25 more people in before midnight, then 300. So I still just don't see like the point of telling Brizzy we're expecting 500 to 1,000 if let's say you only had 50, you weren't close to 500 to 1,000, because saying 500 to 1,000, yeah, 300 is close to 500, but like 500 to 1,000, it's like, damn, we're at like that sounds to me like we're at like 450, so we might hit, we're gonna hit 500 to 1,000. That's what it seems like to me. Like if I'm not gonna tell someone we're gonna have 500 to 1,000 people there unless maybe our ticket sales are at like 400 before the day of the show.
Sure,
You know what I
sure.
mean?
So as far as that goes, like I personally did not say that. I didn't say, hey, we're gonna have 500 to 1,000. Like, yes, this was sent out from SotaSound. Yes, this is something that was communicated. Yes, that's something that did not happen. All right, fair. So for that, we'll do it better next time. And as far as that goes, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's that. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so kind of just to finish this off, like, is there any other misinformation that we had spread apart from 23 tickets? And
Yeah,
all
the
the other stuff.
35K.
35K. Because, I mean, it sounded like there was 35K out there, but obviously not towards the whole
Yeah.
festival,
But
just
yeah,
towards
I just
an
want to
artist.
make sure where you cleared up everything.
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
supposed
I
to.
mean, with the falsities, like, there was something said about, okay, these guys planned the festival in 4 months, and we did plan it in 4 months, but like we didn't like go into it with only a 4-month thing. It wasn't like, oh, we got this thing to do down the line in 4 months. Let's just throw it together real quick. Like, it was just, I think mainly my comment was about you guys stating all these claims and like all these things that some were based in truth, 100%, But some of them were just based on us not having a conversation like this beforehand. But at the end of the day, the experience is what it was, and you guys were there. It was your vlog. It was your experience. So, like, can't knock you for that. But I'm literally just here for the dialogue. I'm not here to convince you guys to fuck with us next year. I get it. Like, 100% don't. But we're going to make sure we do what it takes to make sure that those artists who felt bad about it at least had a conversation or a shot at meeting us in the middle. That's why I'm here.
So why should artists fuck with y'all next year?
Well, next year, we'll obviously have had this experience under our belt. We'll know what we need to work on. We're taking the feedback. Hopefully we'll get more feedback from artists who want to reach out to us and have a dialogue. We're just going to do a whole lot of things differently. And we're going to have more than triple the amount of time to prepare for it, as well as have the venue picked out and have a lot of these details written out, ironed out in contract.
So you already have it planned right now?
We're planning it right now.
I was going to say, yeah, because triple the time, that would be I would have already been happy. That's 12 months, right? Because you had 4 months, triple the time.
We have 4 months to.
So now you're saying you've been planning for a whole year.
We've been at that point, and we've been planning it since
that one ended.
Yeah. So we're gonna iron out the kinks, but we can only do so much. If you've got a taste in your mouth and you're not gonna get it out, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
But what we can do is reach out, have the dialogue, and try to get y'all right.
And I just want to put out there too that I'm sorry that this is like the first time that we've kind of actually had like a real conversation because
me too, bro.
because I've heard of your name a while. We haven't really talked much, and like I was at the Nerdy show when you performed. Yeah. I know you have a very credible music career, and I'm like I felt a little bad like knowing that you were tied in with all this, and it's not a one-man show. Which is why it would have been kind of cool to have Tony here as well, to maybe him, so he could talk on the stuff that you're kind of defending for him. You know what I mean? So it's like I just want to put that out there that I'm not like fuck Brandon Pulphus, dude. Like fuck this guy. Like that was never like a mission or a Tony or none of them. It was more of like just a literal like this is something that happened. We're a media company. We have to report. Like if we see like turning a blind eye on something that we thought was not the best thing, like it would have just felt immorally incorrect for us to not shed a light on it, right?
You gotta say, I get it, yeah.
And I just want to just say like I just like feel bad that this is like our first time having like it's not like we had a relationship the past couple of years and like be like damn bro like I'm so like like now we're having the conversation, but like this is almost like our first kind of like meeting.
I hate
that's
that.
kind of how it came, but I just want to know that there isn't no ill will towards you. If I see you in public, I'm not gonna be like turn away or like it's not like I have it out for nobody or if anybody asks me about the SotaSound shit, I just tell them watch the documentary. I don't be like, man, fuck them, don't work with them. I would never say that about anybody. I would just say watch the documentary and take it as you please and listen to our story. You know what I mean? Like I will never. I'll stand this. I will never tell someone don't fuck with Brandon Pulphus. You know what I mean? Like that will never come out of my mouth because that's not the type of guy I am.
Bless.
And I don't want that to come. I don't want that to be the narrative being pushed. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I'd say maybe there's a lot of people that may say that about Tony. I don't know much about him, but I've heard. I've been ever since that. I've been hearing a lot of stories about some of his past stuff that he's done to artists before this about taking money and not giving promises and over-promising things. So it seemed like a very repetitive thing for him, which is why I hoped he was here because we did have a few other things I did want to ask him about directly.
I did want to
which is not in your position to talk about with the whole Mac House thing and what they did during that time, which kind of leads into the whole SotaSound actually kind of making sense. Yeah. That Tony was behind it, and this is why it seemed like a cash grab because he has had allegations of doing similar things in the past. Sure. And I don't know if you knew about that going into it, but
I've never heard of that.
There is a lot of quote unquote tea behind Tony's name of being very cash grabby and not paying people in full or not giving a full product. I've heard a lot of stories since we've dropped this documentary about it, and we even reached out to some people to talk about it at the beginning before we dropped, and they didn't seem like they really wanted their name attached to it, so they didn't speak on it on the record. But like I don't know if you knew that, but I would maybe like I'm not saying choose better business partners or be careful who you work with, but he has had a really bad. I've heard a lot of bad things about him. Yeah. And I'm not going to say any of those things without him being here and ask him about those, and I don't expect you to answer those questions for him. Yeah. But there is just a lot of things I've heard about him.
Yeah. I would have liked for him to be here to talk about. I didn't know
some
about
of the past
stuff, but even
the past allegations that basically it basically just led up to SotaSound making sense that it happened this way with Tony behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like if the people that did Fire Festival, if they threw another festival, you would expect for that to happen again. You know what I mean? So like. Sure. like there were some things that he did in the past that's like, oh, that makes sense that SotaSound went that way, and that was like a big thing.
I think, I hear that. I think with him, he was just on some like, I know y'all said it wasn't personal. I think it might have felt the way to him. He might have, I don't know. He's not comfortable with,
But he was the main guy that was our point of contact. So he was our point of contact. You weren't. So it's like if you guys flip shoes and you were the one giving the promises, to us, then maybe we might have a similar outlook on you. But it was him, the one that was doing it. But I don't want to talk on him anymore because I hate talking about other people when they're not in the room.
That's real.
But I just want to put that out there that was it. There is a past stuff with him that made SotaSound seem expected.
Yeah, and I want to say as well, like
I was even told by someone that's like, yo, Tony Henderson is behind that. Like, he used to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And that's why I don't think that's a good business. I don't think you should get in there because it seems like a scam. And I was told that, like, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hear him out because I'm gonna hear it out because this is a new thing. Maybe he's like, he's not with Madhouse anymore. This may be a new thing that he's trying to rebuild his brand. And then that happened. I was like, damn. Like the Kanye thing, like Sway had the answer. You know what I mean? Sway had the answers. Should have listened, man.
Literally.
I knew it.
Literally.
But yeah.
That's so loud. That's fucking.
But yeah, I think it's really unfortunate that we had to meet in this scenario as well.
Tony, if you want to come on and talk for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's really bogus that they. Yeah, I think it's really bogus that they all kind of threw you out here to kind of defend.
I volunteered to come out here.
I know. But this is
what I do. Art. He doesn't do.
No, he doesn't.
I don't do art.
You do art. You make music.
No. The art. I mean, he doesn't. He's not in control of the flyers. He's in control of the public.
Right. He's in control of this, and that's the thing is like at the end of the day too. Like they should have came up here. They should have also had their statements to say because like you said, you couldn't answer all the questions. You weren't in charge of everything. You didn't know everything, and that's not fair to necessarily throw you to defend a lot of the time because I never seen Tony defend this situation one time. I've never seen him on Instagram or anything else trying to make the case like you have or John X has. I haven't seen Jory say that either. And that's
she's
like the
gone,
thing.
bro. She's gone.
No, I get that, but your name's still attached to something. So it's
her?
like her, her. So like it's like, do you want to clear your name? Do you want to say what was the issue of y'all meeting up doing all this, or you're just gonna let people drag? Because there's a lot of people too who've been DMing us saying Jory even has a lot of shit behind her. Y'all should have went deeper on Jory. I'm like, well, I don't know her that well.
Yeah.
I only saw her for a few seconds. But
then what, speculation?
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much great.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And that's why we wish they would have been here. But regardless, I want to say like, yo, thank you for popping out here. Thank you for actually talking. Thank you for literally thank you for giving
good company.
Thank you for giving the artist the opportunity to hear what is behind SotaSound, because I think you gave them a clear choice to whether they should participate next year. And I think you also gave them a clear indication to how it was being ran, who's behind it, does everyone know everything or not? And I just want to say I thank you for that. I thank you for literally having the balls instead of everyone else for pulling up here and doing that, because that takes a lot. As an artist,
I gotta say it like that.
No, it does. It does. That's true. And I'm not here to cap. I'm not here to say all that other shit. Like, bro, fuck that. There's a lot of people who are fucking mad at y'all. Y'all fucking threw a crazy spinning out of control event. And that's what I'm saying. Right. Like, we needed the dialogue. I thank you for the dialogue. But I also want to say, as an artist, you... 3 and out. Yep. But as an artist, I just wanted you to you clearly understand. You clearly understand why some people would have felt like they were done wrong. And so I'm glad that you were able to come here and say that, because as an artist, that's why I was upset. As a business person, I kind of already knew what the hell was going on. But as an artist, you just know, like, you want to go out there and perform for people. That's it. That's all you're really there for. That's why you paid. That's why you did whatever. You were there to perform for people. And people didn't promise that. There was a lot of people who didn't get to perform, who were there. And it's just like, from an artist, I hate SotaSound. From a business perspective, I see what y'all were trying to do. But like he said, I would just definitely figure out my business partners. try and see how all that kind of situation works, because I don't know if those are necessarily the correct people to be trusting, having around you to truly run a business, especially if you knew that some people weren't doing things that they were supposed to do on your team.
That is your prerogative, my friend. I hear you. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. But you said that yourself.
I guess we didn't even I say, and I remember like John X commented on there or something in reply to somebody, but I was like, we didn't even mention him in the documentary. He kind of threw himself in there, so I was like, damn, bro. I was like, I didn't even know he was a part owner of SotaSound until now. I thought he just got paid to host, so I guess that's why he felt more defensive. I thought he was literally just paid to host for the night, and I was like, damn, this dude's out here defending the whole. This dude's the one defending
with his chest in the comments.
Defending in the comments. I'm like, the guy that just got paid to host. All of a sudden, he's a part owner. I'm like, damn. Because at first I was like, damn, we didn't even talk about you, bro. But he's defending the brand that he's a part of. So I was okay, it makes more sense now too. Because he was getting some heat in the comments. Because he replied to someone, and they weren't fucking with him. Yeah. And I was just like, damn, like we didn't even talk about. I don't even know if we mentioned your name in the documentary once, besides your name being on the flyer. And I was just like, damn, he out here defending it, and he just stepped his foot in deeper than he needed to be. But
I'm trying to be serious on this. Fucking funny as fuck, bro. I feel you.
Yeah.
Nah, fair enough.
But we should probably cut it. It's probably long enough.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, if y'all tuned in this whole time, thank y'all. Hope this was a great way to end your day or start your day.
Yes, sir.
However it may be. Hit up Brandon if you were an artist there and you need
Let
to
me
make
know.
amends. Hit us up if you need drip.
Yes, sir.
Need some studio time.
1521.
Go to waterwavetv.com or shop with us at 1521 Como Avenue, Southeast Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
We got shoes, we got vintage, we got hypewear, we got all that type
All
of shit.
that.
Go stream Brandon Pulphus' music. He was just on the Nerdy album.
Wait for Graves.
There
Go
you
check
go.
it out. Video coming soon.
There you go. And it's on the board.
Oh,
And cut it off.
Sure.